Girder. A dirter.
A tradoon. Tradoon. A tradoon.
Girder.
Glue is cheap.
Girder.
Ontogeny.
What you're doing?
Dirter. Dirter. The past and the present come together when Johnny Cash enters this jail.
Right now, I'm here in my office in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I just got back from Wyoming, where I was digging up brand new dinosaurs with a crew of paleontologists and volunteers, and I will be back out there again very soon, in less than 2 weeks now. Something like 12 days. I'm going to be back out in Utah, actually, digging up dinosaurs and streaming that. So as a dinosaur paleontologist, dinosaurs are what I study. Paleontology is the study of fossils in general. As a dinosaur paleontologist, I specialize in dinosaur fossils. So dinosaurs are what I study, what I dig up, what I publish on in the scientific literature, and now what I talk about, usually 5 days a week, here from my office. But when I'm in the field, I try and stream like 7 days a week to try and really show what it's like to do field work and dig up dinosaurs and answer your questions and all that good stuff. The whole point of these broadcasts is to make these things interactive, to bring science home for you. You know, to show you what it's really like. Hence the name Paleontologizing. Taking paleontology and, you know, showing you how it's done. Making it a verb, so to speak. Paleontologizing. So I'm glad you're here. Let me know if you've got any questions. And, Joe Funk says, room tour, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here. Yeah. And Ken says, that's a nice macronarian you have there. Ken, this is your favorite dinosaur, I am told. Camarasaurus. Yeah, here we go. Here, beautiful, isn't it? Here, let me get it down and show you. Yeah. There we go. Camarasaurus lentus, I believe. This is a 3D printed juvenile Camarasaurus skull. I think this is the Cincinnati specimen? Yeah. Gorgeous, isn't it? This is one of the first big 3D prints that I ever did. When I first figured out how to kind of cut these things up into multiple parts and then print them like that. But yeah. And DM Wing, here, I've got a command for that. If you type in ! 3D printer, or printer, you'll find it, yeah. But yeah, hollowed out head many fenestrae. Exactly, Alexander Morrison. That's where Camarasaurus gets its name. The name Camarasaurus means chambered lizard. After all of these air-filled... Can you really call them chambers when they're like the majority of the skull by volume? But yeah, very lightweight skull. Pretty robust by sauropod standards, but still very lightweight, full of air. One of the reasons why these animals could reach up into the treetops and get their food. So yeah. And Spy says, was the ceratopsian you found named yet? It won't be for several years, Spy. Now, these things take a lot of time. I've discovered dinosaurs like 12 years ago at this point that still have not been named. These things can take years or even decades. We're hoping to only take years for the ceratopsian, but yeah. And Mini Pie, how are you doing? Here, let me put this back and we'll give you your proper attention, Mini Pie. This is one of my landlords here, everybody. Ms. Mini Pie. You need some brushing. You're just shedding all over the place. My goodness. Yeah. And, this is Mini Pie indeed. Eric's Easy A. Yeah. Hey, Minnie. How are you? Let's get the cat cam going here. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah. She loves the camera. She really does. Don't you, Mini Pie? She loves pushing it around. She loves rubbing her face on it. Yeah. Let's get you brushed. Here we go. Yeah. So, like I said, everybody, we've got new dinosaurs to cover today. Dinosaurs that were published while I was out in the field, so we didn't even get a chance to talk about them yet. We've got 4 new dinosaurs from June or from the very beginning of July.
Step guide to becoming a fossil.
And that's loud.
Step 1, die.
Brannington.
Who wins the Pneumaticity Awards, Danny, Camarasaurus, or Antidemus?
Antrodemus is the same animal as Allosaurus. So on validity alone, I'd give it to Camarasaurus, but Camarasaurus is definitely more pneumatized, I would say. It's got more vertebrae that are more highly pneumatized, I would say. But yeah, Brannington, 14 months. I appreciate the ongoing support. Thank you, thank you.
This is a dinosaur, and this is a dinosaur too.
And JP2019, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It is good to have you here. Yeah. Yeah. And Salamander, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Tenweg says that's a cool office. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. What do you think? Minnie thinks it's pretty cool too. Yeah. She likes that she gets brushed here, that she gets attention, she gets treats, and those treats are coming up. You're gonna learn that word pretty soon, Mini Pie. Treats, and you'll get all excited every time I say it, huh? Yeah. And Asazi says, did the cats miss you? Most certainly, yes. No, they definitely did. Yeah. And Crimson Carnotaurus says, do you have a big collection of those skulls around your house? I do, actually, yeah. There's quite a few of them. Oh, somebody was asking about the juvenile Tyrannosaurus? I guess I can show you that briefly. Here, hang on. Let's see if this works. Brief peek behind the scenes here. Juvenile Tyrannosaurus. Right there. Watch out. Hey. And I don't know if that was the song, Brandon. I'm not sure. Mini Pie. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get that on camera into the background here, but it's
I can see that
a little bit too big.
50,000 a year has been well spent.
And holy cow, Southeast ain't going well. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
In an unsuspecting world.
And Octavius
Living
King.
Creatures from the dawn of time. What havoc will they wreak? What lives will they destroy? What depths of panic and terror will they create?
Octavius King, how are
Underspoken and
you doing?
Raiders have arrived to wreak some sweet havoc.
Welcome to Paleontologizing. Octi and Raiders, I hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a wonderful stream. I hope all is well with those rats and rabbits and other critters. It's good to have you here, Octi. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Fantastic. Yeah, I think this might be the perfect time actually for a quick little welcome video to introduce some new people to the channel. Because we have had a few people here who were here during our fieldwork streams who have not been here for an office stream yet. Also living with me here in California is somebody we like to call Previously Recorded Danny. So we might say hello to him real quick to introduce all these cool new people to our office streams here on Paleontologizing. And so without further ado, let's call him forth, shall we? What do you think, Mini Pie? Is that a good idea? Yeah. In fact, here he comes up behind me right now. So without further ado, Previously Recorded Danny is going to tell you a bit about this channel, about who I am, how I came to be here on Twitch in the first place, what Paleontologizing is all about. So, Previously Recorded Danny, thank you for your patience. Take it away. Well, thanks, present day Danny. Well, if you happen to be new around here, then welcome to Paleontologizing. You may well be wondering to yourself, well, if this is Twitch, then where are the video games? I'm gonna level with you here. I don't really do much in the way of video games. I'm a paleontologist. My name is Danny Anduza, and dinosaurs are my area of study. But how in the world does a paleontologist end up on Twitch? Well, you're about to find out. When I finished high school, I moved to Montana and immediately started work at the Museum of the Rockies, which at the time was an unparalleled powerhouse of paleobiology. That program was built by this guy.
Famed paleontologist Alan Grant.
Well, kind of.
You consulted on that movie.
I did consult on all those
and they
movies.
said that the guy Alan Grant was you.
Yes, yeah, well, fortunately he didn't get eaten. Meet Jack Horner, the real-life Alan Grant. He's one of the most prominent and controversial paleontologists in the country, a dyslexic MacArthur Foundation genius who never finished college and who says he doesn't care why dinosaurs went extinct. To him, the important part is how they lived.
It was at Museum of the Rockies, under the auspices of Jack Horner, that I learned how to be a dinosaur paleontologist. And a huge part of that I learned by working with Jack's final graduate student, a guy by the name of Denver Fowler, who would later go on to become curator of the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. Working with Denver, I did summer after summer of fieldwork in the remote Badlands of Montana. Together, we dug up more dinosaurs than we knew what to do with, at fossil sites numbering in the hundreds. In 2012, I discovered a new species of ceratopsian dinosaur, hopefully soon to be published. The next year, we excavated the world's smallest and youngest Tyrannosaurus rex. Then, we dug up a brand new ankylosaur.
Montana's news leader.
5 paleontologists are excavating what looks to likely be a new species of armored dinosaur.
So we found its head, we found parts of its armor and plates, and so it should be a new species.
Not bad, right? Well, anyway, much like my fieldwork, my research also focuses on dinosaurs. For example, here's Trirarchuncus, The Last of the Alvarezsaurs, just published in July of 2020. One of my current projects focuses on Spinosaurids. I can't really talk too much about that until it's a little bit closer to publication, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, let's get back to how I ended up on Twitch. A couple years ago, things in Montana were declining rapidly, so I picked up and moved on to greener pastures. I'm so glad I did. And with that new perspective, I also realized that I have very little patience with the soul-crushing bureaucracy within academia. So for the time being anyway, I decided to take my career in a slightly different direction. I got hired for a job in early childhood education. As a teacher, I get to have a positive impact on kids' lives and help them find a passion for science. Then, when COVID-19 showed up, the school had to close. But that didn't stop the teaching or the learning. We just moved online. All right, friends. So, we're going to be looking at a book in a little bit, but I thought we'd start off with a song. At 3, 2, 1. Oh, give me a home where the hadrosaurs roamed, where triceratops bellowed and grazed, where erosion uncovers bones we seek to discover, for to strike the whole world amazed. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where sails on his beard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. It was a pretty easy jump from teaching online to streaming on Twitch. I had my first broadcast in May, and I've been on here ever since. Now, I believe pretty strongly that any good scientist should also be a public servant. In my opinion, talking to everyday people about her science is one of the most important things that a researcher can do. I now have a golden opportunity to reach out directly to people where they are. This is what I'm all about, and now, thanks to Twitch, I get to share it with you. And I'm so happy to be able to do so. It's my intention to continue this mission of education by answering your questions, providing good science content, and working to grow this channel. And if you could help by following, or if you could afford it, by subscribing, I would be deeply grateful. So anyway, to my regular viewers, thank you again for sitting through this. To everybody who's new, welcome. I'm genuinely, earnestly glad that you're here. And I hope you stick around. We've got a remarkable little community here, and I'd be delighted if you join us. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back into it. So, present day Danny, back to you. Well, thank you very much, previously recorded Danny.
No expense.
Barnacle Bum gifted a
And thank
tier
you,
1
Barnacle
sub
Bum,
to
for gifting Casey Snow Arts.
This is their first
Appreciate that,
sub in
Barnacle
the
Bum.
channel.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you to Octavius King for the raid. Really appreciate that. It's great to have you here. And you know what? Mini Pie, I think, has earned herself some treats here. So let's get some treats for her, shall we? Hey, take a look. There we go, Minnie. Yeah, that's the stuff. Here. Let's put our cat cam going.
What you doing?
There we are. There you go. Ooh, good stuff. How is that, Mini Pie? How is that? Well, I'm glad everybody's here. We're going to be jumping into some fossil news in just a bit, after Mini Pie finishes her treats. And here comes Sweetie Pie, too. Oh, Sweetie Pie might also pay us a visit. Yeah. And, OXOOC says, really awesome. So glad I discovered this channel. I'm glad you're here. Let me know if you've got any questions. Welcome to Paleontologizing. want a few more? I can give you a few more. That said, these are like 2 calories each, so I can afford to give you some more. Oh, that's too many.
Dirter.
There you go. Yeah, good stuff. And Lordy says, I was watching previously recorded Danny with Sweetie Pie, and as soon as you got back on and Minnie was on screen, she ran up to see you two. Well, Sweetie Pie's figuring things out, it seems. And here she is, right up Sweetie Pie. Sweetie Pie's waiting her turn. There's a pecking order, apparently. And Minnie has priority. And then Moon Pie doesn't even like treats. Anywho. How is that? How is that, Minnie? I've got so much excess fur. Every time I pet you, there's just a whole bunch that comes off. It's a good thing I'm home. Let's get rid of some of that. Brush it off. Yeah, Helvetica Scenario, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. What do you think, Minnie Pie? Pretty good? Oh, what's that? What do you see? What is it? Do you see chat? What is that? What is that, Minnie Pie? Ooh, look at those chops. Please give them pets from us? You bet, Casey Snowheart. Oh, Minnie, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. Will you give Sweetie Pie a turn now? She really wants some treats as well. Yeah, she does. Okay. And Eric's Easy A has actually got a great question. Not necessarily a silly one, but Eric's Easy A says, maybe a silly question, but why is studying dinosaurs important? This is honestly one of my favorite questions. I'll put it like this. Paleontology, dinosaur paleontology in particular, might not seem like the most day-to-day relevant or practical kind of science. But here's what you gotta understand. Different scientific fields are integrative. So what we learn in one scientific field, we can apply that knowledge to other scientific fields. It all kind of meshes together when we're trying to understand our world and the universe and, you know, how everything kind of fits together. So there's that aspect of it. You want to be able to understand the history of life on Earth. Dinosaurs are a very important part of that. Without that context, we wouldn't really understand our own place in the history of life on Earth as human beings. If we didn't understand dinosaurs and their relationship to mammals, our ancestors. So there's that, but there's something else too, which is arguably even more important. There is I've heard several people in the past say that, sorry, there's cat hair all over my face. Ugh. That, you know, well, dinosaurs are cool, but, you know, dinosaur science will never cure cancer. And I disagree with that. Dinosaur science may actually cure cancer someday. In the following way. If there ever is a cure for cancer, it's going to come from a science-minded person working on this problem. And how do people get into science in the first place? Very often, it's through dinosaurs. You probably know that, there's like 4 different jobs that kids want when they're kids. I want to grow up to be...
We have the Tradoon. Tradoon.
Be a Troodon? No. Thank you, Jayco5000, for the 10 months. Appreciate that. kids want to be an astronaut, maybe a firefighter, maybe a veterinarian, maybe a marine biologist, but paleontologist is right up there too. For so many young people, they first fall in love with the idea of learning through dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were a rite of passage for so many different people.
The global and serious game of paleontology.
Raph Ryder, thank you for the follow. I'd really love to do a study looking at the number of people in different knowledge fields. Scientists and lawyers and engineers, philosophers, teachers, all kinds of different people who kind of use their brains for a living. Figure out how many of them first fell in love with learning because of dinosaurs. Anecdotally, that number is very, very high, but I want to actually get good numbers on that, you know? And thank you, Tenwag, for the follow. So maybe as paleontologists, we're not curing cancer directly, but if we didn't have fossil science, if we didn't have people studying dinosaurs, how many fewer scientists would be out there in the first place? How many fewer engineers? How many fewer doctors or medical researchers? We, as dinosaur paleontologists, we sometimes forget how important a role in society we have. So I hope that makes sense. Great question. But yeah, but anywho, paleontology, the gateway science. Exactly, recovering chemist. Yeah. And Creature says, we got cordless power tools because astronauts needed power when they were out in pods in space. It's wild how things connect. Is that true? Huh. Very cool. And OX00C says, true words. I saw Jurassic Park as a kid, and that brought me into science. Bingo. It's more common than you might think, Chad. That's awesome. Can I call you Ox? That's really cool, Ox. Huh. And Nathaniel Sur says, what's the name of the new horned dinosaur you found in Wyoming? Was it Anchiceratops? No, it looks different from Anchiceratops, Nathaniel Sur. It looks different. That's why it's new, is because it's gonna be different, we think. Yeah. But yeah. Mark Melvin says, my first words were Mom, Dad, and Tyrannosaurus. There you go. Yeah. And Ox is very fine? Alright. Sounds good, Ox. Yeah. And Biker Bob, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. So anyway. KCS Sir says, I remember watching the show Bones, and now I like to read random articles about forensic anthropology. There you go. Pop culture can have a huge impact on people. Most people are not going out and seeking science documentaries or let alone scientific papers to read in their downtime. But they'll watch TV shows or movies, and if those feature really interesting stuff, like forensic anthropology or like dinosaur science, that might plant a seed that gets someone really interested in that subject. And sometimes those people become professionals in those fields. Yeah. Shadowcat says, no idea what got me into science as a kid. Maybe because I always loved animals. I always did too. I can relate. So naturally read anything about them, including National Geographic and Wildlife Fact Files. Jurassic Park, the movie, and Raptor Red, the book. Yes. Turned me toward dinosaurs and fossils in grade school there. There you go. Yeah. I read that book, Raptor Red, by Bob Bacher, cover to cover, I don't know how many times, when I was in like 5th and 6th grade. Oh, man. And now, I'm going to be working in that same geological formation out in Utah, where Utahraptor is from, the Cedar Mountain Formation. I'll be out there in just a few days now. In fact, it's going to be in just 12 days. I'll be out there in Utah digging up dinosaurs and streaming it. Streaming maybe in 13 days, but I'm going to be going out to the field in 12 days. Yeah. And, cool, Charlie's Dragon. I can relate to that. I've always been super interested in animals. Yeah. Green User says, thank you for having science on Twitch. You bet, Green Users. Thank you for being here. And thank you for your kind words. And Spy says, I wanted to be a paleontologist after seeing Jurassic Park, but the workload and courses were a bit too much for me. That happens sometimes. Yeah. It's not for everybody, too. And just because you didn't become a professional paleontologist doesn't mean that you're, like, barred from paleontology. You can still participate. You can still contribute to fossil science, even if you're not a professional paleontologist. There are museums who need volunteers. There are field crews that need workers. There are research teams that need citizen scientists to contribute data and, you know, analysis to different projects. There are lots of ways that you can contribute to fossil science without necessarily being a professional fossil scientist. We had a bunch of people on our cruise this summer who, they weren't professional paleontologists, but interested amateurs or students or friends and relatives of other people on the crew. You know, field paleontology, digging up fossils in the field it's often an adventure. It's often under kind of adverse conditions. And we need people there. We need other people to rely on, other people to back us up.
It's a paleontologist version of heaven.
It takes a village. MGZLV, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Is it just me, or are the alerts extra loud today? Is there like a Stream Elements issue going on? That's odd. But yeah, Ultravision Prime says your office is amazing. Thank you, Ultravision. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try and change up the background every day because fossil science is always changing too. I want it to reflect that, you know, keep things interesting. And Crimson Carnotaurus says, was there a spike in interest in paleontology courses with the release of Jurassic World, like there was with the hype from Jurassic Park? Probably, I would guess no. Jurassic Park was huge when it came out, and it helped spark this massive resurgence in the interest in dinosaurs in the 1990s. And that's kind of continued steady until the present. I don't know if Jurassic World really caused much of a blip there. My first instinct is to say no, but I don't have good data on this yet. This is a project that I'm working on, though. With any luck, I'll be presenting on kind of the rate of new dinosaur discoveries and how that's influenced by funding, by media properties, by all kinds of stuff like that. I'll be presenting on that at the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology meeting this October in Minneapolis. And, yeah. And Coach Tomas says, while I'm not comparing Dearest Danny to Attenborough, no, of course, that'd be sacrilege. I feel like when we were young, if we had qualified people presenting ideas to us in a friendly, understandable way, it'd be a big inspiration to a young mind. Attenborough inspired me, inspired a lifelong love of nature in me. That's beautiful, Coach Tomas. That's, in part, and not to get presumptuous, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do here on Twitch, you know? People are interested in fossil science. People are interested in dinosaurs. People are interested in the ancient past. People are interested in what was here on our planet before we got it. Before we came along, before we evolved. That hunger for knowledge is there, and it's not being served in enough media, I think. Whatever success that I've had here on this platform, I think can largely be attributed to that. And I try and, I don't know, that's a big responsibility. You know, I try and give you the best information that I can find. Because of my work in paleontology, I need to keep updated with the literature. I need to talk with colleagues. I need to understand what the current consensus is on certain things. I do my very best to bring that to you in a way that's understandable and interesting and unintimidating. So, Hopefully I'm succeeding there to some extent. And Zook, these are 3D prints behind me. Camarasaurus, Diplodocus, Ceratosaurus right there. I've got scores of other ones here in my office too, but these are the ones I've got today. Yeah. And when my Spinosaurid paper is being published, says the spy, I haven't submitted it for publication yet. It would be lovely to get that submitted before I leave for the field again. And how long is it going to be? Just about 12 days? But after I get it submitted, it could be months to a year before it actually gets published. Or it could be a week, you know? But I'll keep you posted. You stick around and make sure you know about it. Anywho, yeah. And let's see. It didn't expose new... Oh, Sloppy Salamander says with regards to Jurassic World, it didn't expose new audiences to new ideas the way the original Jurassic Park did. It just shoved a big evil scaly monster, eat people, and orgillets. Yeah, Salamander. Unfortunately, I agree. Yeah. And, Spiral Walker, good to see you, too. I'm glad you're here. Welcome back. And 08A Jones says, do you get much time for research with all the streaming? Not as much as I would like, but I can't complain. Apart from this, I'm going to go get a washcloth and just wipe off my face, because there's cat hair all over the place. It's getting stuck on my mustache and going up my nose. But I really can't complain about not having enough time for research, because there are research scientists, like a lot of my colleagues who have got adjunct or even tenure track jobs, or they're museum curators that have far less time for research than I have. And it's mostly a time management thing with me, and not enough hours in the day kind of thing. So it's a solvable problem for me. I'm not stuck in committee meetings for 20 hours a week, or I'm not writing grant applications for 45 hours every week. I don't have to deal with all that bureaucratic nonsense. I can focus on outreach, and I can focus on research. So it's kind of one of my resolutions for this year, is to devote a little bit more time to research and get more things published soon. For a paleontologist who does field work, summertime is almost like New Year's. Your whole year kind of revolves around field work. And so when you go out to the field and then you come back, it feels like the start of a new year. You know, it's a nice kind of reset button. And that's something that I try and take advantage of every year. So I always come up with like New Year's resolutions while I'm out in the field during the summers. And one of those this year is to get more papers published. Another one is to travel more, meet with colleagues in other places more often, start doing field work in other places and see if I can stream from there. And also, on a more mundane note, to go to the gym. I got a gym membership the other day, and I went to the local gym for the first time this morning. So that's going to be a new habit, and I'm excited about that. Ken, Paleo Ken here in chat, and also in the field, was encouraging me to do this. So yeah. Just checked it out for the first time. You know, nice place. Wasn't expensive or anything, and I don't know how to use any of the machines yet or anything, but I ran for a mile on the treadmill, and then I went and walked to the grocery store afterward, and walked home. So, all good. I'm excited to make that, you know, a new routine. And, yeah. One Fun Panda wants to know, how long did dinosaurs live? Are you talking about in the course of Earth history, or are you talking about individual dinosaurs? How many years did they live for before they died? Thank you, Cosmic Seekin. It's good to be home. Individual. Okay, so the way that we tell how old a dinosaur was when it died is doing what we call histology. could show you a little video on that, maybe. There we go. In science, we're all about testing ideas, you know? That's what makes science different from other methods of knowing, you know, like, I don't know, for instance, philosophy or law or religion or something else. In science, we're all about testing ideas. And the way to, you know, we can look at a dinosaur fossil and say, oh, it looks young or it looks old, but that's not really testing that idea. How do we actually determine that for real? And one of the main methods that we do is histology. Take a look.
Hi, my name's Lisa Herzog. I'm in the Paleontology Research Lab here at the museum.
I'm going to get this cat hair off my face. I'll be right back, but she'll help explain it to you.
Femur of a fossil theropod dinosaur known as Acrocanthosaurus. Acrocanthosaurus is one of our most famous specimens that is on display and mounted in the museum. However, we had to take the original bones off display so that we could preserve them. This fossil has something known as pyrite disease or pyrite decay, which can be very detrimental for a specimen if it's not stored in a controlled environment. Exposure to oxygen in the atmosphere and moisture in the atmosphere can cause the pyrite to decay the specimen. So we've taken it off display and it's safely stored in cabinetry downstairs. Now that the specimen's off display, one of the things we are doing with it is conducting additional research on the specimen to help with the body of research on this particular animal. The process we're doing is called creating a histological slide, or it's also known as histology, which means that we're going to be looking at the specimen on a microscopic level in cross-section. So what we have to do for that is cut the specimen in half. Before we go through this whole process,
there we go.
We consult with other members of the department to make sure that this is a worthwhile venture.
Gigantic dinosaurs attacking our board!
A dinosaur?
What? What? Lily Majusace, thank you for the follow. And thank you, M. Farrow.
These plant eaters or herbivores had as many as 2,000 teeth in their jaws at one time.
And Feist.
Happy Science Day.
Happy Science Day to you, too. Every day is Science Day. Here, Feist, I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. So histology. This is how it works. You got to cut the bones open in order to be able to actually tell how old the animal was when it died. Look.
Because it is a destructive process. So I've already gone through the first step of this process. I cut the bone in half, and then I cut a section out of it. And here's what it looks like now. After this section was cut out, this little slice,
Oh, and Zook says, are paleontologists allowed to keep fossils they find, or is that a no-no? That's pretty much a no-no. I mean, as paleontologists, we're not fossil collectors. Like, we're not in it for personal gratification. We're not in it to own the things that we find. The whole point of going out and doing field work, like I was doing out in Wyoming and like I'm going to be doing in Utah in a couple weeks, the whole point is to collect those fossils to put them into a museum, because then I could be guaranteed that those fossils will be there for decades or centuries after I'm dead, you know? We're doing this for the good of science rather than for any kind of personal gain or anything. If fossils are in a private collection, then the likelihood that they'll be around centuries into the future, that is very, very slim. Whereas in a museum, you're almost guaranteed of that, you know? Fossils in private collections get lost. Sometimes they get stolen. Sometimes they get distributed in a divorce or some kind of financial settlement, or like after somebody dies. If it's in a museum, the whole point of a museum is to be able to hold those fossils there in the public trust for centuries. Like, there are dinosaur fossils, some of the first ones ever discovered back in the 1820s in England, that you can still study to this very day because they are housed in a museum. There were other fossils back then that people worked on that were in private collections, and they've almost all disappeared if they didn't end up in a museum. There's some exceptions to this, but that's the general rule, is that fossils in private collections disappear into the ether fossils in museums will be there for as long as there is human society, you know? But yeah. I would think so. Too much black market activity. There you go, Zook. Yeah. And, yes, indeed, the classic phrase rings true.
That belongs in a museum.
Yeah. Anywho, good stuff. And Creature 8136 says, so is purchasing fossils a bad thing then? It's definitely a moral gray area in a lot of cases. If it's a very common fossil, like I have a real fossil here in my office. I just showed it off yesterday. Let me grab it. This is a fossil fish about 50 million years old, genus Diplomystus, from the Green River Formation of Wyoming. This is an extremely common fossil. There have been thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of these that have been discovered. And many of those are in private collections because there's just so many of them, you know? Way too many to, like, put into a museum. Museums don't want these anymore. There's just too many of them. So this is perfectly fine, you know, in a scientific and a moral sense to keep this in your home. And it's cool. But if it were a scientifically important specimen, something much more rare, something like a dinosaur fossil, I would very strongly discourage you from purchasing that. Dinosaur fossils tend to be much more rare, and let's face it, you know, to be perfectly frank, the commercial fossil industry it's not a good thing for fossil science for the most part. There are exceptions. There are commercial collectors who are very conscientious, and if something is really scientifically important, they'll make sure that it gets into a museum. They'll even donate it sometimes, but there have been a lot of important fossils that have been lost, will never be seen by scientists, never studied, never published on, never enjoyed by the public, because they just ended up on some wealthy guy's mantelpiece, and then later they're lost in a divorce. And you know how it goes. So yeah. So, really common fossils, like that Diplomystus, or like a lot of trilobite fossils, or a lot of ammonites. You know, things like this, very common things. We're not necessarily losing anything if those end up in private collections. But if you're talking about dinosaurs, we are usually losing a lot. Yeah. And hello, sweetie pie. How are you doing? Howdy, howdy. You chewing on the cycad over there? It's a good thing that's a plastic cycad.
Let's protect our fossils.
Because real ones would be toxic.
If they're removed, America loses them forever.
And Aegis, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to the community. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate that. And you can bet Sweetie Pie does too. Sweetie Pie, do you want some treats? Is that why you're here? Can I get you some treats? Would you like that? Yeah? What do you think? Yeah, let's get you some treats. There you go. Yeah, good stuff. Oh.
Let's protect our fossils, because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
And Jason Hub, thank you so much for the Prime. I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Good stuff. Yeah. And Mini Pie is here too. She's returned. Yeah. Oh, good girl, sweetie. Anywho, we'll let Sweetie Pie finish her treats here. And then we'll continue that little video about histology and telling how old different dinosaurs are, because that's really important. Yeah. And Axeman says, is a Spinosaurus tooth considered a scientifically important fossil? I would say yes, honestly. Yeah. That's the only dinosaur fossil I've seen sold locally where I am. A flea market of all places. Oh boy. If Spinosaur teeth, if they're real, it's probably not a great idea to buy or sell them. But they are oftentimes forged, or they'll be teeth of other critters like mosasaurs that get mislabeled as Spinosaur teeth because that'll, you know, fetch more money. Oh yeah. Anywho. And Schizo Wicco says, so to find a whole dinosaur fossil is rare, I'm guessing. And why is that? Decay, etc.? That's a big part of it, yeah. Yeah, what you're talking about there is taphonomy. So taphonomy kind of describes everything that happens in between when an animal dies and then when it gets discovered. You know, in the fossil record. What do you think, Sweetie Pie? Good stuff? Yeah. Ho ho ho. You just gonna hang out here in front of the camera now? Yeah? Is that what? Is that the plan? It seems like it is. You're just hanging out here, aren't you? Yeah. It's our show now, yeah. I should switch to the cats category, huh? Is there a cats category on Twitch? Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Maybe let's get back to talking about histology, and then we can talk about taphonomy. How does that sound? Let's get back to that. There we go. Yeah, so, in order to figure out how old a dinosaur was when it died, you take a limb bone like this.
So I've already gone through the first step of this process. I cut the bone
cut it in
half, and then I cut a section out of it. And here's what it looks like now.
Ontogeny.
After this section was cut out, this little slice, I embedded it in a clear epoxy resin for stability. I'm going to be polishing this real smooth and gluing it down to a slide. And then we're going to polish it even more so it's very, very thin and transparent, and we can look at it with light transmitting through the slide on a microscope, and we can actually see the cellular structure of the bone. One of the things that this can tell us is how an animal grew, if there's any sort of pathologies, meaning if it had any kind of diseases, it'll show up in its bone, and it'll help us understand how old this animal might have been when it died. Was it really, really old? Was it a teenager? Was it still growing? We can tell that by looking at the specimen in this way. This is actually...
Starcrasher says, can you count the rings like trees? Basically, yeah. Yeah, those rings are called lags, lines of arrested growth. And, I'm trying to see the camera past Sweetie Pie right here. But yeah, you count them basically like tree rings. It's sometimes a little trickier because certain lines can be resorbed, they can get overgrown, that kind of thing. But the principle is the same as with tree rings.
Actually a pretty common method in paleontology, especially for this type of dinosaur.
It's not nearly as common as I would like to see. There's still a lot of people who are very, shall we say, hesitant to cut open their dinosaur bones, you know? Zook says, can you see its diet this way? Not really, no. It mostly tells you growth rate. It can tell you a thing or two about metabolism. It can tell you how old the animal was when it died, but that's the majority of it right there. And, here. But this is something we'll be talking about a bit when we're talking about our new dinosaurs today, so I'll show you another clip. Yeah. There we go. So this is my old boss, Jack Horner, here.
Now, we have a way of actually testing to see whether a dinosaur or any animal
Sweetie
is
pie,
a
you're
young
right in
one
front of
or
the
an
camera.
older one.
Can you move for me,
that's
please?
by actually cutting into their bones. But cutting into the bones of a dinosaur is hard to do, as you can imagine, because museums' bones are precious, right? You go into a museum and they take really good care of them. They put them in foam little containers, and I mean, they're very well taken care of. They don't like it if you come in and want to saw them open and look inside. So they don't normally let you do that. But I have a museum and I collect dinosaurs and I can saw mine open. So that's what I do.
So I learned how to be a dinosaur paleontologist at this museum. So this idea was kind of ingrained in me during my training. And yeah, I struggle to see it any other way. Like, oh, well, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't gather data on these things because the bones are so precious. There's a reason why we collect them in the first place. It's to learn about these animals. Histo is so incredibly important,
So.
And Science Stream's Jack Horner actually worked at Princeton. He was a paleontologist there for a little while, or a preparator, excuse me, back in his early days, I think after he got back from Vietnam. And Princeton no longer really has a paleontology collection. I think they gave almost all of their fossils to Yale a number of years ago. They pretty much shut down their program. So, yeah, Princeton's no longer really a name in vertebrate paleontology, in the way that it used to be, at least. But yeah. They have some really nice stuff on exhibit. Interesting. Yeah, they don't really have much of a collections anymore. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Like, hardly anywhere in the Ivy League do they really have much vertebrate paleontology going on. I guess Harvard's got a little bit, Yale's got a little bit too, but most of these institutions are much more focused on like historical specimens that they have on display. You don't hear about a lot of cutting edge research coming out of those places anymore. They're kind of resting on their laurels, Yeah.
If you cut open a little dinosaur, it's very spongy inside, like A. And if you cut into an older dinosaur, it's very massive. It's very, you can tell it's mature bone. So it's real easy to tell them apart. So what I want to do is show you these.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a whole thing with dinosaurs from the Hell Creek Formation. You might recognize this guy. He was on my wall yesterday. The same specimen of Pachycephalosaurus wyomingensis. Or very similar, at least. Anyway, bunch of different dinosaurs from the Hell Creek. And then, yeah, as it turns out, a bunch of these might be what we call junior synonyms of previously named dinosaurs. So it turns out they're the same thing, just different growth stages of the same animal. We see a lot of this happening. Everybody's eager to name new dinosaurs, but they're not necessarily new. That's the thing. You got to be real careful, and you should, honestly, if you can, do histo on them. So you can make sure that the variation that you see isn't just due to what we call ontogeny. Because dinosaurs changed a tremendous amount as they grew and matured, to the point where they look like different species.
Ontogeny.
The same animal looks like a different species when it's young from when it's old. They change that much. So you gotta make sure that you've got a good handle on that. That if you're looking at a young or an old animal, that can help you avoid that mistake.
Ontogeny.
So, yeah, we'll be talking about this a little bit as we explore our new dinosaurs from the month of June. Yeah. And Casey Snowart says, would you say there are more lumpers than splitters in paleontology, or is it the other way around? I would say it's definitely the other way around. There are a lot more people who are very eager to name things.
But now the dinosaurs rule.
And Zerosio Cone, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it.
Prehistoric horrors.
And Optaria, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here. Here, I'm trying to find this, Yeah. Here, this is something else that, Here we go. Here, let's just watch this.
Different shapes, lots of different kinds. A long time ago, back in the early 1900s, museums were out looking for dinosaurs. They went out and gathered them up. And this is an interesting story. Every museum wanted a little bigger or better one than anybody else had. So.
And Gatorgill says, I'm going to go see a Lokiceratops fossil in Denmark this weekend. We'll be talking about Lokiceratops today. I'm not necessarily convinced that it's new. I think it might be the same animal as Medusaceratops. That's kind of why we're talking about this right now. I know it got really good press. There's a lot of prominent authors on the paper. People are very excited about it. I think it might be the same critter as Medusaceratops. I'm not necessarily convinced that it's a new dinosaur. But, we'll be talking about it. It is very cool. It's a beautiful specimen. Really exciting fossil. But is it actually a brand new genus of dinosaur? I'm not necessarily convinced. That's why we're talking about this here. Yeah. And Zerosio Khan says, holy cow, you're the only one to say the cone correctly. Really? Wow. I don't know. As a paleontologist, it's a lot more difficult things that I pronounce every day. Your name's no challenge. It's good to have you here. Welcome. And Salamander says, are we sure that Medusaceratops isn't Albertoceratops? They seem to overlap temporally and geographically. Salamander, I wouldn't be shocked if they're the same critter. Yeah. In fact, I'd be surprised if they weren't, honestly. But yeah. And Schizo says, what is the deciding factor for you all to be in dinosaur paleontology versus human, like paleoanthropology? Can you go into dinosaurs from human study or vice versa? You can, and a few people have. I do know some paleontologists who have a background in anthropology, but I've always been interested in dinosaurs. You know, I guess on an intellectual level, paleoanthropology and the study of humans in general is, I guess that's interesting in an intellectual sense, but it doesn't get me excited. That's not something that I really get excited about in the least, you know? I see people every day. I'm a people myself. Why would I want to study that, you know? Dinosaurs are different enough and cool enough to really kind of capture my imagination, get me really excited, and make me want to put up with all of the nonsense in academia and all of the hardships of being in the field. You know, I am not just content to do that, I'm thrilled to put up with all that in the pursuit of dinosaur science. I wouldn't do that for paleoanthropology. You know, personal preference. That's what it is for me. Anyway, yeah. But, yeah. Let's continue with this real quick.
If the museum in Toronto went out and collected a tyrannosaur, a big one, then the museum in Ottawa wanted a bigger one and a better one. And that happened for all the museums. So everyone was out looking for all these bigger and better dinosaurs. And this was in the early 1900s. By about 1970, some scientists were sitting around and they thought, what in the world? Look at these dinosaurs. They're all big.
Yeah. Where's the small ones?
Where are all the little ones? And they thought about it, and they even wrote papers about it. Where are the little dinosaurs? Well, go to a museum, you'll see. See how many baby dinosaurs there are.
Usually not very many.
People assumed, and this was actually a problem, people assumed that if they had little dinosaurs, if they had juvenile dinosaurs, they'd be easy to identify. You'd have a big dinosaur and a littler dinosaur. But all they had were big dinosaurs. And it comes down to a couple of things. First off, scientists have egos.
This is an important point.
And scientists like to name dinosaurs. They like to name anything. Everybody likes to have their own animal that they named. And so,
important point.
And so every time they found something that looked a little different, they named it something different. And what happened, of course, is we ended up with a whole bunch of different dinosaurs. In 1975, a light went on in somebody's head. Dr. Peter Dodson at the University of Pennsylvania.
Peter Dodson was the doctoral advisor for Matt LaManna, who was out in the field with us in June. So, yeah, one of Matt LaManna's academic offspring, or excuse me, one of Peter Dodson's academic offspring, Dr. Matt LaManna, was out in the quarry with me for like, half a month, which was awesome. It's a small world here in dinosaur science. Anyway, so Jack goes on to talk about this and ontogeny in these dinosaurs and how they change as they grow and develop, and how you got to be really, really careful to account for ontogeny in these animals, because sometimes the same critter can get 3 different names if you find 3 different growth stages of it. That seems to be what happened with Pachycephalosaurus.
Well,
here.
folks, that's how dinosaurs are. Unpredictable.
It's
25 months? That's like a quarter of 100 months.
Almost, Rothgar. Yes. Thank you for the 25 months of support. I really appreciate it. It's good to have you here. So anyway, yeah. And Matt did have some great stories. I agree, Rodimus, definitely. But yeah.
This is Laura Dern of Jurassic Park. Digging up dinosaurs is hard, frustrating work. It takes months or years, so leave it to the professionals.
Yeah, or work with the professionals. J.R. Hansen, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. And Schizo says, is it true for men interested in digging for dinosaurs you have to be going bald or have a great beard? No. I mean, look at Ethan Cowgill. Our expedition lead. Let me find a picture of Ethan. Let's see. Here's the photo I took of him pretending to use the restroom, sitting on a sandstone bench. And he doesn't have a beard, nor is he going bald. It takes all different kinds of people, and obviously not just men, too. There's, female paleontologists, there's non-binary paleontologists, there's paleontologists where we're like, who or what are you? In a good way, It takes all different kinds of folks, for certain. I want to push back against the idea that paleontology is only for, bearded white men. I know I can pass for white pretty well, but, I don't want you to necessarily picture me when you're picturing paleontologists in general, Yeah. It is for all kinds of people. Absolutely, Alexander Morrison. Absolutely. Yeah. There's even dog paleontologists. I'm not sure about that isolated, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Pirate Percy's, thank you for the follow, and welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. And Casey Sir says, how did they figure out those skulls were all the same critter? Oh, Lear, let's go to that.
At the same time, has spikes sticking out the back of its head. It's got a little tiny dome, and it's got a bunch of gnarly stuff on its nose. And then there's this thing called Dracorex, Hogwarts eye. Guess where that came from? Dragon. So, here's a dinosaur that has spikes sticking out of its head, no dome, and gnarly stuff on its nose.
Yep.
Nobody noticed the gnarly stuff sort of looked alike, but they did look at these three and they said, these are three different dinosaurs, and Dracorex is probably the most primitive of them, and the other one is more primitive than the other. It's unclear to me how they actually sorted these three of them out. But if you line them up, if you just take those three skulls and just line them up, they line up like this. Dracorex is the littlest one.
Yep.
Stygimoloch is the middle-sized one. Pachycephalosaurus is the largest one, and one would think, that should give me a clue. But it didn't give them a clue. Because, well, we know why. Scientists like to name things. So, if we cut open Dracorex, I cut open our Dracorex.
Here we go. Here's your answer there.
Spongy inside. Really spongy inside. I mean, it is a juvenile
bone,
and it's growing really fast. So it is going to get bigger. If you cut open Stygimoloch, it is doing the same thing. The dome, that little dome is growing really fast. It's inflating very fast. What's interesting is the spike on the back of the Dracorex was growing very fast as well. The spikes on the back of the Stygimoloch are actually resorbing, which means they're getting smaller as that dome is getting bigger. And if we look at Pachycephalosaurus, Pachycephalosaurus has a solid dome, and its little bumps on the back of its head were also resorbing. So just with these three dinosaurs, you can easily, as a scientist, we can easily hypothesize that it is just a growth series of the same animal.
See?
Which, of course, means that Stygimoloch and Dracorex are extinct.
A dumb joke, but yeah, isn't that neat? So that's why ontogeny is so important to understand and to test for in the fossil record, which is something we'll be talking about as we discuss our new dinosaurs today. And Charlie's Dragon says not only are they extinct, they never existed. Well, it's just that those names should probably no longer be used. The dinosaurs themselves existed. They're just juvenile Pachycephalosaurus, I really rankle at that. People say, oh, well, Brontosaurus never existed. It's like, no, it definitely did. It's just we're arguing semantics. We're not arguing whether or not the dinosaur existed. We have its fossils. Like, it definitely did exist. It's just, should we use that particular name for it, You gotta separate the idea from the actual organism, from the fossils, from the actual object, And I don't know, I think a lot of people, maybe because of pop culture, where like ideas are synonymous with the actual object. Like, no, you've got to think about it like a scientist, where the name or the concept or the idea, you kind of hold that on a separate level from the actual thing itself. Not to get too philosophical about it. It's all about humans and naming things. Exactly, Claire Burr. Yeah. And Casey Snowart, we cannot reuse the names. No, so these names are now... yeah, they are... You can't use them anymore. Since they've been published and they've been sunk, that's the term that we use for, like, when a name falls out of favor because it's been shown to be, no longer valid, then you can't, it's not like you can use this name on a new dinosaur. That would just be way too confusing. So in order to keep things from getting confusing, these names, if we do use them, it's just to refer to this old idea of these animals being valid, You can't find a new dinosaur, like a new sauropod or a new horned dinosaur, and name it Stygimoloch or Dracorex. You can't do that. I guess you could, but you'd have to change the spelling. It'd have to be distinct enough in order to keep it from getting too confusing. There are rules that govern this. The International Code of Zoological Nomenclature it's the ICZN this code, like, governs all of that. That makes sense?
The moon does exist.
And Connery10, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Draco Rect. Yeah, there you go. Alex Fixon, yeah. Yeah. And Zook, how are you doing? No, not New Cat, just Mini Pie. She's returned. Yeah. Do you want some more brushing? Is that what you're here for? Let's make that happen. But yeah, Darko Rex. I mean, you could try to publish that, but it could get rejected. Like, you could have an editor be like, no, you can't do that. What are you trying to do? You know? It depends which editors you get, which reviewers, what journal it's in, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. What are you doing, Minnie? Yeah. Eclipse Proton says, Happy 4th of July to you, your cat, and your dinosaurs. Thank you, Eclipse Proton. I appreciate that. Yeah. And Biker Bob says, so truly finding a new dinosaur would be a very difficult task? It's not. I've done it several times.
Let's protect our fossils, because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
And Doghouse Riley, thank you for the Prime sub. I appreciate that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. I appreciate those primes. It might not cost you anything, but I definitely gained something from it, so thank you. Thank you very much. And there you go, Draken. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Oh man, I'm getting more cat hair in my eyes. Mini Pie, you're shedding everywhere. This is nuts. Have you just not been brushed for the past month? What's up with that? Why do you keep producing all this hair? And that's exactly what it stands for. So you're living up to your name there. Yeah. I actually have I've got it right here. I've got the ICZN book. The actual code here. Here, watch out, Mini Pie. There it is. The International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. Adopted by the 20th General Assembly of the International Union of Biological Sciences. So this...
Did you ever, though, have a moment where it was kind of heartbreaking on destroying? Never.
No, glue is cheap.
Sabina Bean, thank you for the 2 months of support. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, there's all the rules in here. Deliberate misapplication of a name. So, you know, there's all kinds of rules in here that dictate. What? Mini Pie, you're sitting on my soundboard. Oh, you're a menace. You're a menace, Mini Pie. Anywho, yeah, and thank you, One Fun Panda, for the 200 bits. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Mini Pie's butt dialing chat with sounds. Exactly, Charlie Dragon. She's pretty good at that. And you've just got too much fur. Too much. Why do you keep growing this stuff? Don't you have enough already? Let's get rid of some of that. Do some spring cleaning here. Just hitting the soundboard again. Mini Pie. Sorry, everybody. Get your butt away from there. Hey, move. And Hogan, thank you for the 100 bits there. Splendid. I appreciate that.
Chew.
Mini Pie's in charge now. She says, yes. Mini Pie says, I'm the captain now. Oh, Minnie. Yeah, I'm the captain now. DJ Mini Pie, yes. And what's Mini Pie's favorite dinosaur? It might be the ravens that we have come by the house sometimes. She's like fascinated by them. She loves to watch them, and she's also a little bit scared of them. And I think they look a little like her too, and that's one of the reasons why she finds them so enthralling. Yeah. And Schizo says, have all dinosaurs only been bird-like? None of them are similar to any other animals that we're familiar with? There are other dinosaurs that are superficially similar to other creatures, but the only animals today that are dinosaurs that are still alive are birds. So, yeah. You could say that certain dinosaurs are similar to crocodilians today. Crocs and alligators and caimans and gharials and etc. But, yeah, but dinosaurs are kind of distantly related to crocs. Yeah. And crow-like birds. Yeah, they sound like magpies. Honan the Librarian. What a great name, by the way. I know I've said that before. Yeah. So much hair, Mini Pie. My goodness. Look at all that. Look at all that. Look at what you did. And Creature says, so is my bearded dragon any relation to a dinosaur? No. Not a close relative at all, no. Lizards are, Zook, thank you for the 5 gift subs. I appreciate that. Well, well, well.
Zuki1224 is washing away the ads for 5 lucky mammals.
Zook, thank you so much for those 5 gift subs. I really appreciate that. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, Zook. Appreciate it. Here, let's talk about phylogeny for a brief second here. This could be a canned response at this point, because I say it so often, but it's really important. As scientists, when we classify living things, it's not based on what they look like, or how they make us feel, or the general vibe, or whatever. You know, when we say that whales are not ray-finned fish, that whales are a kind of mammal, what we're saying is that whales evolved from a mammal ancestor. Classification, what things are related to what, that comes from ancestry. And thank you, Henny717, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. And Horror X, thank you for the 40 bits there, again and again, and I appreciate that, Horror X. Holy cow. Good stuff. Thank you, Horror X. Here, how to put this properly? I don't know. The example that I always use is like, you know, scientists, we're not going to argue about whether or not a hot dog is a kind of sandwich, you know? That's a discussion that's based on opinion, it's based on vibes, it's based on whatever. When we're classifying living things, it's based on ancestry. What group did a certain creature evolve from? And which other organisms does it share a recent common ancestor with? Najbi, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing.
If you're feeling a bit cheated, try blaming the dinosaurs.
There we go. I should have this bookmarked. Why is this not popping up? There we go. Interactive Tree of Life. This will work. So this is a little buggy. Have they fixed it by now? No, not really. It's still kind of buggy. But when we say that living things are related to each other, we mean they're actually related to each other, in the way that you're related to your cousins, for instance, if you have cousins. You know, you're not the same person as your cousins, but you are related. And you share at least one of the same grandparents. That's how you're related. You have a common ancestry with your cousins, you know? And then with second and third cousins, you go back further and further in time, and you're more distantly related to them. That's the same with all life, same way with all life on Earth. So, let's take a look at, say, theropod dinosaurs here and humans.
Dinosaurs lived a long time ago.
They did.
They were terrible lizards, don't you know?
Thank you, thank you.
Melum,
Hogan, for those 1,000 bits. I appreciate that, Hogan. Thank you, thank you. And Miss Capri, did I thank you for the 100 bits yet? Thank you very much for that. Good stuff. We've achieved a level 2 hype train here. Let's see how far we can take this thing, huh? So, humans and dinosaurs, we are related to each other, but very distantly. We last shared a common ancestor right here. Back about 300 million years ago. So our 68 millionth great-grandparent was the same critter. Our common ancestor with dinosaurs. And, oh, here's a lovely bird right here, which is a living dinosaur. That's a tinamou bird. Miss Caprikel, thank you for the 10 gift subs there. Look how excited this tinamou is to announce the arrival of those 10 gift subs. Uh-oh. Little too excited. Oh, shoot!
Miss Caprikel is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Thank you, Miss Caprikel. I really appreciate that. And Vainglory, with 10 more gift subs. Well, well, well. Can you believe it? Look, Mini Pie. Look. There's a tinamou bird. He is super excited for that generous gift from Vainglory TX. Uh-oh. Mini Pie, watch out! Watch out!
Vainglory TX is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Mini Pie, I told you to watch out. You're all black with soot now. Goodness, gotta clean you up.
First armored tank, you might say.
And Jackus2, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. But, yeah.
If you're feeling a bit cheated, try blaming the dinosaur.
Marisa Degu, thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate that. Here. So anyway, when we're talking about living things being related to each other, we mean that they're actually related, that they share a common ancestry. And so, humans are much more closely related to, say, dogs than they are to dinosaurs. Whoop. Yeah, that's not what I was trying to do. Although dinosaurs and dogs also have the same common ancestor that dinosaurs and humans do. Both dogs and humans are mammals. And Niffler, thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate that. Here, I'm trying to click this. This thing's awful buggy. I really wish it were not so buggy, but it is. Here, orangutans and dogs. And then orangutans and humans. Anyway, the other one is a lot easier to use.
1,000 bits can make a wonderful difference in promoting the appreciation and understanding of fossil science here on Twitch.
And thank you, Hogan, for the 1,000 bits. I appreciate that.
Hide behind Danny.
There you go. Yeah. And were all the cats as happy when you came home? They seem happier now. At first, they were just a little confused. They were like, I thought you were gone. And they kind of ignored me for the first evening. And now they're, you know, much more eager to spend time with me. Especially Mini Pie here. My goodness. Yeah. But anyway, let's go to old Homo sapiens. Here's us on the Tree of Life. Yeah. There we go. There's us. We share a recent common ancestor with bonobos and chimps, about 6 million years ago. We had a common ancestor. You go back further in time, 8 million years ago. We share ancestors with gorillas. And then back further than that with orangutans. 14 million years ago, our lineage diverged from the lineage of orangutans. And you can go back further and further and further to apes, to catarrhines, monkeys and apes, to
1,000 bits
haplorhines,
can make a wonderful
primates.
difference in promoting the appreciation and understanding of fossil science here upon Twitch.
That's 5,000 bits, Sir David. Holy cow, Miss Caprical, thank you very, very much for that. Holy moly. Extraordinary. I really appreciate that. Holy cow. Yeah. Extraordinary. Thank you, Miss Caprical. Appreciate that very much. Then you go back, the first non-primate mammals that we link up with are rodents. So rodents and euarchontans, which are primates and their relatives, we form a clade called Euarchontoglires. So we are, primates are allied with rodents.
This is where it really fits.
And KJM367, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. No, humans are not rats, but we do share a recent common ancestor with rats. Well, recent. 75 million years ago, rats and humans had the same ancestor. Does that make sense? Yeah. Grurum says, tell your kitty I said hi. Hey, Mini Pie. Grurum says hi over there. You know that? Yeah. Here. What do you think? Is that cool? Yeah. Sorry to put you on the spot, Mini Pie. But yeah. Anyway, good stuff. The whole point is living things share common ancestors. That's how biology works. When we say that certain dinosaurs are more closely related to other dinosaurs, we don't just mean that they look similar, they actually shared a recent common ancestor. Sometimes those similarities in their looks can point toward that common ancestor. They can be a clue that they're related. But they're not related because, you know, they look similar. It's a really important distinction to make. Yeah. That kitty is decent. She is, J-Far, but she is indeed. Aren't you, Mini Pie? Yeah. And there you go, Crimson Carnotaurus, yeah. Rats or canaries or, what's the other lingo?
The extinction of dinosaurs is the absolute prerequisite to the evolution of large mammals and to our own existence for that.
It's true. Underdog nobody. Hey, I appreciate the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. You're somebody here. Thanks for joining us. And let's see, Schizo. So we don't actually have chimp or bonobo ancestors. That's also an important distinction to make. Here, let's go up and let's find us again over here. Monkeys and apes, old world monkeys and apes. There we go. Apes. Right there. Great apes. African apes. And there's us, humans. So, we did not evolve from chimps or from bonobos. They're over here, and those groups are still around. We share a common ancestor with them. So 6 million years ago, there was an ancestral hominid that gave rise to humans and also gave rise to chimps and bonobos. So we did not come direct from chimps or bonobos. We just share an ancestor with them. Does that make sense? In the same way that, like, you did not evolve from your cousins, but you and your cousins share a common ancestor. You've got at least one of the same grandparents. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Yeah. And so do Denisovans and Neanderthals share that same line? Yeah, so they'd be over here with us. Yeah. It's a little complicated because early humans, I guess, interbred with Neanderthals. But, hello, sweetie pie. Do you want to come up here? Hey, psst, psst, psst. We're gonna have 2 cats on the desk? Yeah, come on up. Come here, sweetie. I don't know if she wants to. Do you want to come up here, sweetie pie? Come on up. What? She's a little shy right now, but there she is. Hey, sweetie pie. Oh, that hair on the ground. Yeah. Come on up. But yeah. And I like the cousin analogy. I use it all the time. It's a good analogy to use. And man, I can see there's all of this cat hair stuck to my face now. Mini Pie, you are... so much hair everywhere. My goodness. Ugh. Yeah. And so Lasjoma says, so phylogeny really just talks about high divergence and convergence, not really that A is B? Yes. I guess? Yeah. Libricon says, I thought you'd have pet lizards. I don't have any pets, Libricons. No. I live with several cats who are officially my landlords. But they lived here before I did. I'm a recent addition to the household. They predate me by a number of years. Yeah. But yeah, here. Let's talk a little bit about phylogeny. Maybe I can find you a decent video about this, because it's important stuff. And then, we should still have time to talk about our new dinosaurs in a bit. But this is really important to discuss. Yeah. Yeah, here, let's take a look at this.
In 1799, a strange animal skin landed in the hands of biologist George Shaw. Studying its features, Shaw noticed the perfect resemblance of the beak of a duck engrafted on the head of a quadruped. So accurate is the similitude that at first view, it naturally excites the idea of some deceptive preparation by artificial means. So basically, this thing seriously looks like a duckbill sewn onto some fur. That animal, the platypus, is very much real.
And you know what? Well, this is going to be a really cool discussion. I might wait until we actually have a day that's devoted to this, to phylogeny, before we really go into this in detail. Because I promised that we would be going over our new dinosaurs from June today, and I want to make sure that we actually get to that. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Mini Pie? You okay with that? I hope so. I'll give you a link to this video so you can watch it on your own time if you would like, because it is really good and it helps explain this concept really well. But, we do have to get into our fossil news here. Yeah. I've never seen any of Clint's reptiles phylogeny videos. We've watched a few on stream, Dr. Hubs. He had one about dromaeosaurs, like Utah Raptor. And, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. He managed to avoid some of the major pitfalls that people fall into. Succumb to, I should say. You don't fall into a pitfall. That would be redundant. But, yeah, it was good stuff. It's good stuff. And Middlestead says, have you build Shin Godzilla dog? I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to say probably no. But welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Commander Argo says platypus is a multilinear genome, though, isn't it? No? What do you mean multilinear genome? It's not a hybrid animal, if that's what you're implying. It's, there are fossils of platypus that go back to, like, the Paleocene, I want to say. It's a lineage that's been around for a long time. Yeah. And Crimson Carnotaurus says, aren't Utahraptor known from the area you'll be working in your next expedition with the Iguanodons? Yes, indeed, yeah. Although Utahraptor is a little bit more recent in time. The Iguanodont we're working on is lower down in the rocks, from earlier in time than Utahraptor. But if we're lucky, we might find some of the remains of maybe the ancestor of Utahraptor mixed in with the Iguanodonts. It's a big old bone bed, everything's all mixed up in there. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Commander Argos is crosses mammal and reptilian. No, not at all. No. Platypus are 100% mammal. Yeah. Mammals and reptiles cannot hybridize. They have been separate for way too long. For like 300 million years. So, never the twain shall meet again. They are too different. Early on, like maybe a million years after they diverged, I could have What a brilliant graph. Elphaba Melty, thank you for the follow, and welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. But yeah. Comfy there, Mini Pie? I think she is. Aren't you, Mini Pie? Anywho, why don't we actually get into talking about our new dinosaurs today, shall we? Let's do it. Ugh, so much cat hair. Ugh. I'm gonna go clean up too. But, let's get into some fossil news. Starting now. Well, we'll let this go by first. 12 days until we start fieldwork in Utah. But right now, it's time for some fossil news. All right. We are going to go over the 4 new dinosaurs that were published while I was out in the field in Wyoming. Ones we didn't get a chance to talk about because I was busy digging up additional new dinosaurs. So let's get into that. First off, let's talk about Musankwa. Let's see if I can find a press release on this first. There we go. We're going to go in chronological order here. From May 30th, we've got a brand new sauropodomorph dinosaur from Zimbabwe in Africa. A new genus and species of Masopodon sauropodomorph dinosaur has been identified from the fossilized remains found on the shoreline of Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe. This is our critter right here. So, this is a member of Sauropodomorpha. So what you gotta understand first of all is these are your long-necked plant-eating dinosaurs. They didn't start off very big, and they didn't start off walking on all fours either. Again, when we're talking about common ancestry of dinosaurs, the earliest dinosaurs that we have, excuse me, Mini Pie, would have looked something like this.
He's called Brontosaurus. Big fella, isn't he? 70 feet long. Tips the scales at a substantial 35 tons.
So that's a sauropod right there. Ben Opper, thank you for the follow, and welcome to Paleontologizing. The earliest sauropod, or sauropodomorph, that we have is this little guy. Let me find you a good picture. And Out of Hunk, thank you for the follow, too. Welcome, welcome to the channel. It's good to have you here. Eoraptor. This little guy is the earliest dinosaur that we have so far. A little meat eater, but it seems to actually be an ancestral sauropodomorph. My point in showing you this is to get the idea across that the first dinosaurs also all basically looked like this. Little two-legged meat eaters, like that. The first dinosaurs looked like this. And from this original body plan, all of the different dinosaurs emerged. All of them evolved from a creature that would have looked a lot like this. Eoraptor is not the very first dinosaur. It can't be. It's a little bit too advanced than that. But it's the earliest one that we found yet. Someday we will find a dinosaur that's older than Eoraptor, ancestral to it. but so far this is the earliest one we got. So this is our best picture for what the ancestral dinosaur looked like. A basal carnivore. There you go, Ken, yeah. So all of the first dinosaurs walked on 2 legs and they ate meat. And they were generally pretty small, we think. You know, like this little guy. Here, scoot
Just
that over
ask
so you
this
can see.
scientician. He'll tell you that in nature.
And Side Effect 1888, thank you for the follow too. Welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Murph says, what about Neosaurus? Neosaurus is controversial. We don't actually know for sure that it's a dinosaur. And we've got such little material from it that it's really hard to tell, you know? Maybe it is a dinosaur, and it's older than Eoraptor. Maybe it's not a dinosaur. Maybe it's just a close relative. I don't have a horse in that fight. I don't have a strong opinion there. Yeah. And how big was Eoraptor? That big. In fact, I've got an Eoraptor skull here in my office. Yeah. Where did that go? Where'd you go, you Eoraptor skull? Well, I don't know where I put it, but I can show you a picture. Honestly, my office is kind of a mess right now after having just gotten back from the field. But, there's the book. And let me find you Eoraptor. There we go. It's that big. It's not a big critter. Yeah. So that's the skull of this animal. They probably got a little bit bigger than that. That's probably not a fully mature individual, I would imagine. But, you know, it's not a large animal. And Pubix Cube says, what made them evolve into such huge creatures? Slowly jumping up the food chain? No, because the biggest dinosaurs were plant eaters. It could be that the largest dinosaurs evolved to be so big in order to help avoid them getting eaten by predators. The huge size of sauropod dinosaurs does seem to be a natural defense against that. But yeah, anyway. When we're looking at this new dinosaur here, just published on May 30th, this is, you know, your sauropods starting to evolve from little Eoraptor type guys. They're getting a little bit bigger. They're evolving longer necks. They're becoming more well adapted for eating plants. And that's what we see here. Oh, yeah. The newly described species lived in Africa during the late Triassic, approximately 210 million years ago. So it is from the Triassic. I wish I had time to look at this before the stream, but we're just kind of going over this in real time here. So, this is the age of dinosaurs right here, the Mesozoic. Dinosaurs first evolved probably about here at the end of the Middle Triassic, about 240 million years ago, give or take. This dinosaur, I guess, is from the Norian stage of the Upper Triassic period. So it's from pretty early on in the age of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs would take over the Earth at the beginning of the Jurassic period, because there's a big extinction at the end of the Triassic, and all of dinosaurs' neighbors basically die out. Dinosaurs really take over at the beginning of the Jurassic, and they hold on to the Earth through the end of the Cretaceous, where they all go extinct, except for a handful of bird species at the end of the Cretaceous period. But anyway, that's 66 million years ago. See the 66 right here? This dinosaur lived about 210 million years ago in the Norian stage of the Upper Triassic. So it's from pretty early on in the grand scheme of things. In the age of dinosaurs, it's an early guy. And Plateosaurus peer or relative? Maybe around the same time as Plateosaurus, Dr. Hubbs, yeah. Yeah. Plateosaurus might be slightly later, actually. But I'd have to look it up. Anyway, newly named Musanqua sanyatiensis. The dinosaur is estimated to have reached a height of about 1.5 meters at the hip So about 5 feet tall at the hip, maybe? And a weight of 390 kilos. So that's close to 800 pounds. It belongs to the Massapoda, a group of sauropodomorph dinosaurs that lived during the late Triassic to early Cretaceous epochs. Wait, late Triassic to late Cretaceous? I guess so, okay. I guess that's like a new term for sauropodomorph. I'm not familiar with that yet. Anyway. Our evolutionary trees hinted that the new species might be linked to Riojasaurus from Argentina and Eudemosaurus from South Africa, said Paul Barrett from NHM in London. And her colleagues. No, Paul Barrett is a dude. So that's a typo. This may mean these animals were a widespread group of dinosaurs able to move back and forth between what is now South America and Southern Africa, which makes a ton of sense. Yeah. Sorceress Newbie says, were there flying herbivores? In media, you kind of only see meat eaters and fish eaters. Yeah, there were flying dinosaurs that ate plants, seeds primarily. Birds are the only flying dinosaurs. And some of them were seed eaters. Yeah, we do have flying herbivorous dinosaurs today, like the Hoatzin. This is a species of bird from the Amazon. They mostly eat leaves, but they're pretty rare in being, like, fully herbivorous. They don't seem to eat much animal material at all. Yeah. Yeah. Salamander says, weren't tapajarids believed to be fruit or nut or seed eaters? I think we really don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about pterosaurs to say that, Salamander. It's a good question. I'm not sure. Anyway, Hoatzins. They're cool birds. One of my favorite extant birds. They're wonderful. And the babies have got these little claws on their wings that they use for climbing. Super cool. Yeah, there you go, Sad Spectacle, yeah. Yeah. Anywho, cool stuff. But back to these guys. Our new sauropod dinosaur, sauropodomorph. Yeah, there's an idea that they were moving between South America and Southern Africa because we found very, very similar dinosaurs on both continents. Which shouldn't be surprising. Because around this time... Here, let's go to 200 million years ago. Africa and South America were one continent together. They were joined right here, along with North America, Europe, Asia, and then Australia, Antarctica, New Zealand, and India and Madagascar all stuck together here in this massive global landmass that we call Pangaea. The name means all Earth. But we've known about this for a long time. It lines up with the formations of the rocks, it lines up with the fossil plants, with the fossil animals, with geomagnetic data, all kinds of stuff. This is very, very well established that all the continents were smushed together like this back then. And that's why Africa and South America look like they'd fit together like puzzle pieces, because they used to be fit together like puzzle pieces. Anyway, this dinosaur is from Zimbabwe, and it's very similar to some of these dinosaurs that we have from here in South America from the same time, which makes sense, because they would have been able to walk from one place to another back then. There would have been no ocean in between them. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. But yeah. Oh, Lily White's got a classification question. I know cetaceans used to be even-toed ungulates and are classified under artiodactyls. True. Whales are hoofed mammals. They evolved from a hoofed ancestor like this. Why are they considered artiodactyls not carnivores, since they were a carnivorous artiodactyl? They weren't carnivorans, though. I think we're having confusion about some terms here. So, carnivoran, in the context of mammals, is a specific group of mammals. And some of them are plant eaters. Panda bears. You know, the giant panda is an example of a carnivoran that eats plants. Here. In the context of classification, carnivorans are a specific group of mammals. It doesn't have anything to do with what they eat. That's just the name for the group, is carnivora. Most of them do happen to eat meat, but some of them don't. Because within carnivora, you've got critters like the giant panda, which is famously an herbivore. They eat bamboo. But yeah. But then, you've got the artiodactyls over here. Cloven-hoofed ungulates, which includes whales, like this dolphin here. Yeah. There you go. There's Whippomorpha, and there is Cetacea. So whales are kind of hoofed mammal that returned to the sea. They became marine. Yeah. Pretty cool, right? And I'm guessing people thought they all ate meat when they named them. Maybe Patrick Crusader, yeah. But the word carnivore and the word carnivoran, those are like different ideas. Yeah. And One Fun Panda says, will the hippo turn into a whale one day? It can't. Whales are already their own group. So they already share a common ancestor, and hippos are outside of that. So hippos can't become whales. Hippos could evolve to be fully marine. You know, they could have flippers and a long fluke on their tail and everything else, but they'd never be whales. They can't be whales. Whales have already evolved, and they're already their own thing. They all share a common ancestor. So nothing else can evolve into a whale. Whales are already their own thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. And Nana Tyrannus says, Danny, there have been some really good questions and comments. I agree, Nana. I hope you're doing well, by the way, Nana. It's good to see you here in the chat. I gotta come back up and visit you sometime soon, if I get the chance. But I hope you're staying cool, Nana. I know it's very hot where you live. And it's nice to have you. Love you, Nana. And Bizok the Gamer, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. But yeah.
Really spectacular. Spare noise.
And thank you, Murph, for gifting Nana Tyrannus.
Up to Nana Tyrannus.
Appreciate that, Murph. Thank you, thank you. Nana, enjoy not having to watch any ads at all for the next month. And Murph, thank you for your generosity, as always. Appreciate that. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, and Shady and Dark Air New Vegas. Good point. Yes, yeah, so maybe someday, if things went weird for the hippos, maybe tens of millions of years from now, they could evolve into something that might look like a whale, but they wouldn't be whales. Because whales are already a thing. Whales are already their own group. But maybe they would do kind of like sea cows. Sort of like, somebody in chat was pointing this out. Sirenians. These are a group of Afrotheres, so they're like elephant relatives that evolved for life in the sea. Sea cows. That's manatees and dugongs and the extinct stellar sea cow. Yeah, dugong, manatees. But they are related to elephants, right here. So, yeah. If elephants evolved to be marine and they had flukes and flippers and stuff like manatees and dugongs, they wouldn't be whales, they'd be their own thing. Like sea cows are. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. And Patrick Crusader says, just like there were marine reptiles that looked like whales but weren't whales. Exactly. Critters like Shonosaurus. These are big, superficially whale-like reptiles that are not whales. First of all, they evolved way before the first whales, like 150 million years before the first whales. Or longer ago. Yeah, close to 200 million years before the first whales. but they're not whales. They're kind of reptile, you know? Classification is all about your ancestry in science. This can't be a whale because it evolved from totally different ancestors. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyway. Good points. Good points. Anyway, let's get back to our new sauropod here. New sauropodomorph. At this time, these creatures began to become more diverse.
The work of vertebrate paleontologists.
And Faith takes you far. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. At this time, they began to become more diverse and spread around the world, making it an important era to investigate. The paleontologists found the remains of new dinosaur Musanqua sanyatiensis, a single hind leg, including its thin shin and ankle bones, the Spurwing East Paleosol site of the Pebbly Arcos Formation, situated to the northeastern shoreline of Spurwing Island, Lake Kariba, Mid-Zambezi Basin, Zimbabwe. And Banana Vessel, thank you for the follow, too. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. The new species is only the 4th dinosaur to be named from the Karoo-aged basins of Zimbabwe.
What's science ever done for us? TV off.
And Forrester 007, thank you for the follow. It's good to have you here. Yeah. But, yeah. And I'll see you later, Alexander Morrison. Enjoy your 4th of July festivities. Yeah. But yeah. The main reason for the underrepresentation of African dinosaur fossils is undersampling, said Dr. Kimberly Chappell. I saw her last year at the conference in Utah, I believe. Paleontologist at Stony Brook. Put simply, there have been fewer people looking for and unearthing dinosaurs in comparison with other regions of the world. And this is a huge thing. There are dinosaur fossils from all over the world, all 7 continents, including Antarctica. We don't have as many dinosaur fossils as we should from Africa, because in a lot of ways, Africa is kind of an underdeveloped continent, and we don't have enough paleontologists working there yet. There are a few programs that are growing throughout Africa. There's a big one in Egypt now. Hesham Salam's lab. Yeah. This guy, Hesham Salam, is leading a laboratory up there in Egypt, in Cairo. And they are one of the leading groups of African paleontologists at this point. It's actually pretty awesome what they've been doing. They've got a neat Twitter page.
The ponderous
but this is important to talk about.
32 feet long and 14 feet high.
Nightfire22255, thank you for the follow.
And not a single cat.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. And there's Bilal. I worked with Bilal in Utah 2 years ago. Great guy. Love Bilal. Everybody says he's going to be Africa's leading dinosaur paleontologist. He's going to be doing some awesome. He's already doing awesome stuff, but he's going to be a big name. But yeah, this is a really, really cool lab in the sense that, well, shoot, it's like the majority of grad students there are female too, which is not a common thing in Egypt. But man, they're doing some awesome stuff. So it's exciting that we've got more dinosaurs coming out of the African continent. And there will be so many more in the future. I'm excited. Yeah. So anyway, welcome to the world. Welcome to the world, Musanqua sanyatiensis. New sauropodomorph dinosaur from Africa. Let's take a look at the paper if we can find it. go. An active paleontological Polonica. There's the paper right there. Excellent. And luckily it is open access.
Access granted.
Here's a link to the paper right there. Good stuff. And Charlie's Dragon says, gotta love countries having their own natural science programs rather than Western scientists just scooping up everything. Yeah. That's the way it's done. So this is cool to see. Let's look at the affiliations of these researchers and let's see if that's actually what's going on, though. London, New York, South Africa, Switzerland, Zimbabwe, South Africa. So, good representation for the African continent here in the authors list. That's good. Yeah. Casey, yes, sir, says, do you know the history of your last name? I do. It's not really relevant to our discussion right now. But yeah, I do know. Or I have some idea of it. And there we go. It really is from the shore of this lake. Take a look at that. Lake Kariba right there. What a neat field site. Just right there on the banks of that lake. Basically a little island right here. That's the fossil site. We've got a lovely hind limb. There's a femur, the thigh bone. There's a tib and a fib. The shin bones right there. Here's a strat section showing where these bones came from in relation to the surrounding strata. And very cool stuff. So this is only the 4th dinosaur known from the Karoo Basin, I think. Yeah, and speaking of name etymologies, this name Musankwa is in reference to the houseboat Musankwa from the Tonga dialect, meaning boy close to marriage. This vessel acted as our home and mobile laboratory during the 2 field expeditions to Lake Kariba in 2017-2018. It was made available through the generosity of David and Julie Glynn. Yeah. Pretty cool. So this dinosaur was named after the, I guess, houseboat that they were on when they were doing this work. That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Yeah. Yeah, so we've got a couple of different diagnostic bits here, a couple of etapomorphies, I guess. Prominent posterior tubercle, present on proximal margin of femur. Also present there, okay, yeah. Neat. Fossil was found weathering out on the surface with the preserved elements in articulation, so this leg was together. The material is heavily sun-cracked and weathered with poor surface preservation that might reflect a long period of surface exposure prior to collection, as well as pre-burial damage. That's all they were able to get is that hind leg, I guess. But from that, and because it is really scrunched up, oof. But I'm glad they have it. Because there are basically no dinosaurs known from this geological formation, very few, they could be confident that this thing is new, I guess. Yeah. And there's the tib right there. There we go. Nice. It's good stuff. And they have it right here. They ran a cladistic analysis on this to try and, like, put this into a dinosaur family tree by coding different characters, running it through a computer. It spits out a family tree like this called a cladogram. And according to their analysis here, it comes out as sister to Unimosaurus and Riojasaurus. So Riojasaurus is a well-known kind of early sauropodomorph from South America, Riojasaurus there. Yeah. And Isolated says, so if they have so if all they have is a leg bone, is the illustration of how it looks just an educated guess? To a certain extent, yeah. We can tell that it's a member of this group, so its leg bones look very, very similar to, say, this guy. These are different illustrations of the same critter here. Every dinosaur that you see on, on here is the same critter. So there's a lot of different ways that you can illustrate it. But we know that this is an early sauropodomorph. It looks something like this. So the reason they didn't give it any crazy spikes or frills or anything like that, why it looks fairly plain right here, is that they're just showing you this looks like this kind of dinosaur, basically. And I guess they found a big temnospondyle nearby, too, so they also threw that guy in right there. But that's the reason why you don't see any crazy accoutrement or anything wild there.
Because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
And Sunshine Mama, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the community. Enjoy not having to see any ads. Enjoy using those emotes. Enjoy the fact that, you're supporting science outreach here on Twitch. I appreciate you. Thank you for that. So yeah, that's why this looks fairly nondescript, pretty conservative. Is like, all we've got is a leg bone. We know it's from this general kind of dinosaur. We know that all of the early sauropodomorphs basically look like this, whether it's Riojasaurus, whether it's Massospondylus, whether it's Musaurus. We know they all basically looked like this. And so they're being pretty conservative with that illustration. Does that make sense? Yeah. And, yeah, and thank you, SB. Hey, happy 4th to you, too. And Zook says, you may have missed my question from earlier. Sorry, I did miss it. How many fossilized bones do they need to name a new dinosaur? Ideally, you have as many as possible. Sometimes you have multiple complete skeletons to name a new dinosaur based on. Sometimes all you have is a handful of bones. Like with this guy. There's not a lot of material for this critter. You've got a femur, you've got a tibia, you've got a fibula, and maybe a couple other elements, but that's really it, right? Let's see. Material, type material only. Yeah.
But in the serious game of paleontology, much larger mysteries still remain.
And Crisis Tuxedo, thank you for the follow. Welcome. It's good to have you here. Yeah. And the weirder the bones are, the less you need to make that decision. It's true, Salamander, yeah. Okay, so they've got a femur, a tib, and an astragalus. I guess they don't have a fibula? What happened to the fib? Huh. Anyhow. The reason why they could name this, and why it's probably valid, is that there's very few dinosaurs known from this geological formation. If this were a formation where you've got hundreds of dinosaurs named from it, hundreds of dinosaur specimens, I'd be like, no, you need more material to give this thing a new name.
Are you a fan of dinosaurs? I won't get angry if you aren't. What?
Chaos Query, thank you for the follow, and welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. And, Akuna says, was just wondering, don't know if you've showed some pics of the bones from dinosaurs that you have found. We were doing that yesterday, Akuna, in our kind of recap of the summer's fieldwork. You stick around, you'll see us dig up some bones in real time when I'm out there in Utah in just a few days here. Okay? 12 days till I'm back out there in Utah. And I'll be streaming live from the field, so stick around. Yeah. Oh, and Tom1642's got a great question. What's the least explored region in the world, considering paleontology? It still has a high potential of finding many fossils? I'd say certain parts of the Middle East or Western Asia. Places like Afghanistan almost certainly have good dinosaur fossils there. And it's just not really a place in the world where it's safe to go explore at the moment, you know? There are other places that are unpleasant for other reasons, like Siberia, for instance. There are good dinosaur fossils there, but it's a tough place to work. Antarctica. Another place where almost anything that you find there stands a very good chance of being new, but a difficult place to work, you know? Yeah. I see. Thank you for answering. You bet. Yeah. And Sorceress Newbie says, can't imagine how difficult it is to find fossils in rainforest areas. I mean, yeah, rainforests are not a great place to look for fossils just because you don't have a lot of exposed rock. So the reason why we often go out to desert areas, like where I was working in Wyoming or where I'm going to be in Utah in a couple weeks, is that in order to find fossils, you know, you've got to go to a place where there's a lot of exposed rock there on the surface. Yeah. Here, take a look at this clip. Here.
For public view in the museum.
Yeah.
The search for dinosaur bones begins in a place like this, the mountains of western Colorado. Once, this was a
This
broad,
is not far from where I'm
low-lying
going to be in Utah,
plain
just over
covered
the
with
border.
tropical vegetation. Today, it has been raised 2,300 meters above sea level. As the Earth's crust was pushed up, erosion weathered away the rock, exposing long-buried fossils. This quarry has provided scientists with many dramatic fossil discoveries.
I found one of the world's largest land animals. It's a dinosaur that stood between 50 and 60 feet tall and probably weighed about 80 tons.
It's probably not actually that big. Ultrasaurus was unfortunately kind of overblown.
Until we see dinosaur bone coming out of the ground.
Yep.
Otherwise, we might dig forever and never find a bone. But to find a dinosaur bone or skeleton, one must walk a long ways, climb a lot of sweaty mountains, and go thirsty and be subjected to gnats and heat and that sort of thing. But when you find something like this, it may be something that's never been seen before.
Yep.
So it's an exciting pursuit.
Most definitely. And you'll be seeing some of that pursuit just a couple weeks when I'm back out there in the field. Yeah. And Blake MTG says, what's that Hollywood setup? Where do you get those skull? So these are 3D printed behind me here. If that's what you're asking about. Yeah. So I'm not streaming to you from a museum right now, and with fossils like this, I would say
It belongs in a museum.
You know, genuine dinosaur fossils belong in a museum. Not here in my office. So I've got 3D prints instead. Camarasaurus, Diplodocus, Ceratosaurus up there. There's a Protoceratops hiding up there too. These are, I use these as visual aids when I'm streaming here from my office. It's teaching tools. I also really enjoy 3D printing, and I do a lot of that. So I've got a lot of really cool specimens. But yeah. But I work with a ton of real dinosaur fossils as well, and you'll see that again in a couple weeks when I'm back out there in the field. Yeah, in just 12 or 13 days now. I'll be back out in Wyoming. Not Wyoming, Utah. Near Moab, Utah. I was in Wyoming for the past month. But yeah. Yeah. And is there a significant black market for fossils in other parts of the world? There's a significant black market for fossils here in the U.S. Tom, yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, for sure. Yeah. And do you think they'll find the rest of Sonorosaurus here in Arizona? Bowser Jim, that's a great question. I hope so. That'd be really cool to find more of that critter. Although I do think it's slightly unfortunate that that animal became the...
Remember, dinosaurs and human beings lived on the Earth at the same time.
What, like the Flintstones?
Executive Storm! Holy cow.
Woot woot, almost there to the 1 year mark.
47 months, holy moly. I appreciate that. Thank you for your ongoing support, Executive Storm. Isn't Moab where Jeeps go to rock climb? And blow out their transmissions? Yeah, one fun panda. Yeah, get yourself a Toyota. But yeah, yeah. Anywho, yeah. And yeah, Deathsaurus, yeah, that Stegosaurus, it was unfortunate, yeah. Risa Dago says, how did you ever measure how many tons you find? Like, so all of the jackets that we had at the end of the summer, Risa Dago? I can show you a picture, potentially. So this is just a small percentage of what we had. These are the big protective plaster and burlap jackets. There's our super important one with the ceratopsian bits in it. There's Ethan for scale. He's about the same height as me. But yeah, this is like 1/3 of what we had. No, actually, scratch that. Way less. Because we also had that enormous jacket that weighed like maybe 1,000 pounds. It bent the tailgate on the truck. It was so heavy. Yeah, there's the tailgate on the truck. Man, not a great photo, but just bent the steel on it. This thing was so heavy. And they got it in by hand. Probably weighed 1,000 pounds. Yeah, it was a rental. And the... do I have a picture of... If I didn't get a picture of that, I should have. But it basically, like, punched out the backup camera, because the backup camera was on the back of the handle for the tailgate. And so it's bulging out. I don't know if I got a shot of that, but it was something. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Things you gotta do to transport a dinosaur, you know? That was our big duck-billed dinosaur. Well, one of our big duck-billed dinosaurs from this summer that we got out. Got several. And interesting, Zook. Okay. The birth of loud. Are you saying that my music is too loud, Zook? Anywho. Let's get back to our dinosaurs here. Welcome to the world, Musanqua. New sauropod dinosaur, just published May 30th. The day I got out to the field in Wyoming. It's our first day in Wyoming, is May 30th. Sorcerer's Newbie says, is it illegal to trade dinosaur bones? I am also the opinion that stuff like this belongs in museums. We share the same opinion, yeah. Yeah. It depends where you're at in the world. And I think I have a clip of this. Let's see.
Twitch.
Yeah, here we go. Check this out. some people talking about this.
Welcome.
I'm going to run to the bathroom real
In the
quick.
world of
Be right back.
dinosaur bones, something is out of joint. A skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus rex named Shem was due to be auctioned with appropriate hype in Hong Kong this coming week. Expected to fetch more than £20 million, Shen was abruptly withdrawn from sale by auction house Christie's when doubts emerged over the provenance of parts of the skeleton. The plot thickens as it appears that some of Shen may be replicated from the bones of another T-Rex called Stan. This Jurassic whodunit has serious implications. Globally, millions are made illegally trading bones and fossils, which are diverted from scientists who could study them. David Waterhouse is the Senior Curator of Natural History and Geology at Norfolk Museum and joins us from Norwich. Hello, good to speak to you again.
Yeah, nice to see you, Michael.
And from Northern California, dinosaur paleontologist Danny Anduza, who hosts Paleontologizing, which can be viewed on Twitch. David, first of all, why does it matter that there's an illegal trade? In what way are they diverted from scientists, and why does that matter?
Yeah, I think you know, these are really important things. They're not just art, and I think that's the problem. That's not to downgrade art in any way, but we're picking up scientific information about our environment, the environment in the past. We can learn about our environment in the future. So potentially really important science can be lost if these fossils like T-Rexes and other fossils go straight into the hands of private individuals.
Danny, can you understand why a skeleton could be worth $20 million or pounds or whatever?
Frankly, Michael, I can't. As somebody who's dug up a lot of dinosaurs over the years, I've done a lot of field work in places like Montana and Utah, working with various museums. It doesn't cost very much to dig these things up in the first place. Maybe a few hundred or a few $1,000s to dig up, you know, a handful of bones, like in the Shen specimen. There's really no reason in the world why it should sell for anything over $1 million. Paleontologists like me are flabbergasted every time that happens, and I think it's because the buyers are being misled, as they were in the case of Shen.
Yeah. Let's get to the part where we talk about the laws.
Where it rightfully belongs. Deal
from this T-Rex.
Let's see, where was that?
Dinosaurs here, but we do have if you found, say, an off you.
Complicated here in the United States.
To Danny,
you get it back.
There we go.
Let me just go back to Danny for a moment. Danny, in the United States, do you have a proper legal environment to protect these bones and fossils?
It's a little bit complicated here in the United States. Unfortunately, if a fossil is found on private land, unfortunately from the perspective of paleontologists, then it's the property of the landowner, and they can do with it what they...
You're not doing so badly yourself for a paleontologist.
Thank you, Benno99 ASMR. I appreciate the kind words and the follow. Welcome. Yeah. In the U.S., private landowners own the fossils on the land, regardless of how scientifically important they are. It's unfortunate.
Then it's the property of the landowner, and they can do with it what they please. They could donate to a museum, or they could give it to their dog to chew on. Regardless of the scientific importance of whatever, you know, the find might be, you know, ultimately it belongs to the landowner. If it's from private land, if it's from public land, the sorts of lands that I work with, Bureau of Land Management land, state lands, then it belongs to the people of the United States, and it needs to be held in the public trust, held in perpetuity so that scientists can study it and the public can enjoy it. And that's what paleontologists like us think should happen for every scientifically important fossil. They're a benefit to all of humanity. They're part of our collective natural heritage. They belong in a museum.
Danny Anduza and Professor David Waterhouse, happy digging to you both. Thank you very much.
Yeah, anyhow. But yeah, And let's see, Him Kells, Clinum 88. Oh yeah, welcome back. It's good to see you again. Anyway, here is a link to that video if you want to see it.
The ponderous Trachodon, 32 feet long and 14 feet high.
Jesse Benitez.
1,500 teeth and not a single cavity.
Thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. A what? Oh, Trachodon? That's an antiquated name for Edmontosaurus and other kind of Saurolophine hadrosaurs. You know, critters like this guy here, Edmontosaurus. And the heat is oppressive. I'm sorry, Claire Burr. Shoot, it's got to be really hot up where you live, huh? I'm really lucky to have air conditioning here, where I am right now. I can thank Ios and Lordy for that. They got that a couple years ago. Anyway, why don't we talk about our next new dinosaur, shall we? Let's return to our fossil news. We'll run the stinger another time, and move on to our next new dinosaur. All right, next up, we've got a dinosaur that we actually discussed on stream several times with one of its describers. This is going to be a funny one because I don't actually know how to pronounce it, nor does the paleontologist I was working with in the field. Some of you remember when I was working with Matt LaManna. Let's see. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. Videos, where was our... There we go. And...
Paleontologizing.
Here we are.
I'm here once again with dinosaur curator of Pittsburgh's Carnegie Museum, Matt LaManna.
Hey guys.
Yeah, thanks Matt for taking some time out to talk with everybody.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So, yeah, should be fun, just kind of a chill, short little interview.
Yeah, sure.
And so anybody, if you've got any questions at all pertaining to dinosaurs, pertaining to museum work, pertaining to, I don't know, what else are you eager to talk about?
I would say, like, in particular, my knowledge base is mostly Southern Hemisphere dinosaurs, and sort of.
And our new one is one of these Southern Hemisphere dinosaurs.
You know, dinosaur museums, I guess. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, just for context for anybody who maybe wasn't able to catch any of our earlier streams, Matt LaManna has done a ton of field work all over the world, digging up different dinosaurs in all kinds of cool, exotic places. Exotic sounds like almost condescending or something like that. But.
I mean, I think some are pretty exotic, so yeah.
Yeah,
no
yeah. And shoot, I've told you this already, but when I was a kid, there is this TV show that my dad taped for me called The Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt. I think I was about 10 years old, and I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. This group of paleontologists go out to Egypt to try and sort of rediscover some of these mysterious Egyptian dinosaurs, many of which, I think pretty much all of which at that point, had been destroyed in World War II.
100%.
And Matt LaManna was on that crew, and so I watched that tape so many times I practically wore it out. And now, you know, get to have Matt out here in the field with us, and now you're on my show, which is
and you're
crazy.
And you've been a lifesaver to me and my people as well from Pittsburgh.
Well, shoot,
so,
I appreciate that. No,
this dude is one of the best field people I've ever worked with. No joke. Yep. And
wow.
he's not paying me to say that. And this is only my second beer, so.
No, I'm beyond flattered.
Danny is fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and And I'm so grateful when I hear stories like what you talked about that show being meaningful to you. I mean, it was certainly a really meaningful experience in my life, and you know, we were hoping it would have an impact on people, and you know, happily, I think it has. So
definitely, yeah. I'm sure you inspired a lot of people.
Dinosaurs. I won't get angry if you aren't.
Kurt Terrific, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Anyway, that's Matt Lamano. We might return to this video talking a little bit about Gondwanan dinosaurs and working in Argentina and Patagonia and stuff like that. But here we've got a new dinosaur that was just published while Matt was out in the field with us. He's one of the authors on the paper. Yeah. A new genus and species of, as he says it, Unenlagine dinosaur, Unenlagine, has been identified by paleontologists in Argentina. Named Diuchin or Diuchin. Matt wasn't actually sure how to pronounce it either. He didn't pick the name. I'm going to say Diuchin. Diuchin lechiguanae. It fills a substantial gap in the fossil record of these theropod dinosaurs. It's a lovely illustration of it right there. And Unenlagines, or Unenlagines, tomato potato, are these slender, probably dromaeosaurs. They're probably related to Velociraptor and Deinonychus in them. We're not 100% sure. Apparently some of the South Americans think that they might actually be their own group, not related to dromaeosaurs or not part of that family. But anyway, they've got that sickle claw. They tend to have long, slender jaws. We know they had feathers because they're Maniraptoran dinosaurs, and pretty much all of those guys had feathers. They were very, very bird-like. And they're pretty cool critters. They're so far mostly restricted to South America. And, well, shoot, where else was Matt saying that they're from? He knows, you know, he's a world expert on these guys. But yeah, they're pretty cool. Kurt Terrific says, I've been watching for a while. Well, I'm glad you followed. It's good to have you here, Kurt Terrific. Yeah. But yeah. Free key lime pie. Holy cow, Salamander. That's fantastic. Enjoy. Could they fly? These guys, maybe they could fly a little bit when they're really young, but as adults, no. And when I say fly, I mean maybe like flap their way up a tree or something. But a lot of dinosaurs like this had wings, but could not fly. Because wings aren't just good for flying, they're good for lots of other stuff too. Oh, and that little guy who ran by, Ostroraptor, also probably an Unenlagine. But wings aren't necessarily just good for flying. You can also use them to flap to stay on top of your prey when you're standing on it. You might be able to use it to shield your eggs from the sun or keep them warm when you're nesting. You can kind of fold it against your body to regulate your body heat. There's a lot of different things that you can do with wings aside from just flying. Might have been helpful for like descending, you know, like jumping down from a precipice. You can kind of flap on the way down to slow your fall. You can flap to move up an incline. Let's see. Let me find you a neat clip of this. Okay, yeah, what use is half a wing? Here we go. Good stuff from HHMI. Love these videos. Yeah. A display for attracting mates, yeah, it's another potential one. Good idea, Deathsaurus, yeah.
The evolution of flight in birds has long been a great scientific puzzle.
Yep.
Fossil evidence from the past 40 years has established that birds descended from theropods, a lineage of two-legged dinosaurs that included species with feathers on their bodies and arms.
Ooh, and that's Sinosauropteryx right there, which, if you've got a tier 2 sub or a higher, you get those emotes.
But those early animals could not fly. So how did birds take flight?
How indeed.
A new hypothesis came from my studies of young birds that are learning to fly. And it all started with a bale of hay.
What use is half a wing? So, why would you have wings if you can't fly with them? Is the question.
I've been studying the mechanics of bird flight for over 3 decades at the University of Montana's Flight Lab. I became interested in an intriguing question that critics of evolutionary theory had posed to Darwin.
Yep.
So there's a gentleman by the name of Sir George Jackson Mivart. He challenged Charles Darwin when Charles wrote The Origin of Species.
Darwin had proposed that structures evolve through intermediates.
There you go, Elioth.
So a wing would have evolved from forelimb in stages. But some of those early stages were clearly not capable of flight. Mivart confronted Darwin.
And Squirrel Zagabo says, go ask an ostrich why it has wings. If it could talk, and if it knew its stuff, it'd say, well, because my ancestors could fly. But when we're talking about how did wings evolve in the first place, what good is half a wing? You know? That's what this video is all about.
He said to Darwin, how do you explain in the evolution of birds from reptiles the function of half a wing?
So to answer that question, I looked to a living example. Bird chicks with small, immature wings. I wanted to make careful observations of how chicks use their wings as they learn to fly.
I was keeping the birds on these shiny floor, clean lab conditions, and trying to have them go up a wall that was slick to fly up to their siblings. As soon as a rancher came in once and said, what are these birds doing on the ground? They hate being on the ground. Give them a bale of hay, give them something to get up on.
As soon as I got some hay bales for the chicks, we made an interesting observation.
Yeah, I love this as a wonderful illustration of how science works sometimes. You don't know what you don't know sometimes. And just in the process of studying something, you might learn the origins of a process or a structure. You never intended to learn about that, but just there it is. The discovery happens.
I came back one day, and my son, who had been helping me, I asked him, how are they doing? How was the data today? And he says, it was horrible. I say, why? He says, they were cheating. And that moment, a watershed moment in my life.
Yeah.
What do you mean they were cheating? They ran straight up vertically. I said, that's impossible.
Oh, this is so cool.
To understand this behavior, my son Terry and I decided to carefully measure how young birds use their legs and wings together to travel up ramps of different angles.
So here's our little experimental animal here. And
my friend Julia Clark, an expert on the evolutionary origin of birds, joined us on our experiments. The first angle is not steep.
It's wild.
Right.
This is not a
trained animal.
This is not a trained animal.
I'm interested in your island. It's got nothing to do with oil. I'm a paleontologist.
And Samus Burge, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing.
Just walked, no problem,
Stroll.
nonchalant,
Yep.
no wing necessary.
Next, we try a sharper angle.
Okay, so this is much steeper than before.
It is.
Let's see what happens.
There we go.
You're not sure what you see because it's so fast.
And until you see it in slow motion, you don't know how beautiful it actually is.
Check this out.
This time, the bird used its wings as it ran.
And every time it felt like it was falling backwards, it used its wings not to pull it up. And this is what we discovered. It wasn't to lift it up and take it like a bird flying straight up to this refuge. It was using its wings to pull it forward onto this log.
So what it's kind of doing there is almost like the spoiler on a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So, like, like a spoiler on a rear-wheel drive vehicle like this. The idea is it's creating downforce to force the lower wheels force the back wheels lower to the ground so they get more traction and you can go faster. That's the purpose of a spoiler like this. It's down thrust, exactly. Yeah, like an F1 bird. There you go, Samus Bird. Yeah, yeah. F1 spoiler. There you go, just like that. Same kind of, same idea. Yeah.
And now, a really steep ascent.
That is going to be a challenge, right?
So this is now nearly vertical.
This is vertical, standing tall, vertical like any tree.
Right.
Let's see what the animal can do
All
to
right.
negotiate this. It can fly, but
But it's still using its legs. Still using its legs.
It climbed with its legs, using its wings to pull it towards the tree, but not
Isn't that cool?
to fly it up this.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. This has turned out to be not just representative of the bird we looked at, but every flight-capable bird that we've looked at in the 15 years since.
Pretty neat,
dozens
right?
and dozens of birds.
I have also observed
Look.
the same.
So yeah, and McLaren Senna. Let's look at that isolated. Where? Yeah. And there you go. Yeah, there's a big old spoiler on the back of that. And presumably this is a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So when you're going super, super fast in a car like this, you could lose speed if the rear wheels are kind of hopping up a little bit. You know, if you don't have as much downforce, the spoiler forces the rear of the vehicle down so you get more traction and you can go faster. Spoiler alert. Yeah, there you go, Tom. And chickens and many other birds actually do this. It's called WAIR, W-A-I-R, wing-assisted incline running.
Dozens of birds.
I have also observed the same behavior in the wild. And I have even seen young birds use their wings to assist their hind limbs to paddle across a body of water.
Yeah, loons will do that.
So Ken, how did this change the way we think about how dinosaurs get in the air?
Yeah.
Well, we now know that there are a lot of dinosaurs, little feathered theropods that have little wings. And the explanation for their existence is really difficult to resolve. And I think that a reasonable explanation is to look at what young birds with similar wings can do today. Birds
Wings
show
that are not
us
fully
the
developed yet,
possibility of what these dinosaurs could have done.
Yeah.
Scientists have long debated two main possibilities for how
Cool,
flight
Dinosaurs. I haven't
evolved.
seen that, I don't think.
Dinosaurs could have used their clawed hands to climb up trees and then glide down, with this gliding behavior eventually evolving into flight. Or dinosaurs could have run faster and faster on the ground, flapping their wings, and some species then evolved the ability to fly. But our research suggests a third possibility.
So every bird that we've looked at, dozens of different species, do this behavior. They exhibit this behavior of flap and running. No gliding. They don't jump off of a bale of hay and glide down, and they don't fly up. They flap, run up, and they flap down.
Juvenile theropods might have used their forelimbs similarly. In the adults, the legs alone were probably sufficient to escape predators or to hunt down prey. But in growing theropods, small wings provided an advantage.
Just imagine the selective pressure at the time of theropod dinosaurs. Everything's trying to eat everybody, chasing everybody. If you could have moved up to an elevated refuge with the use of these little wings, you would have lived to see tomorrow.
Those young theropods would have run up to escape predators and then flap back down when it was safe. Over time, small wings evolved into larger ones until these feathered dinosaurs were able to take to the air.
Pretty cool, right? Yeah. Here's a link to that video there. Good stuff. And I showed you that because when we're talking about these feathered dinosaurs, the Unenlahines, they had wings despite not being able to fly. Maybe that's something that they were doing with those wings, was wing-assisted incline running. Or maybe using the wings to help steer, you know, like the spoiler on a vehicle going through a turn. You know, using the wings to help steer, create downforce as they're turning while they're chasing prey. Stuff like that. Yeah. So anyway, our brand new dinosaur, described in part by Matt Lamana, is Diuchine lechiguanae. It roamed our planet during the Santonian stage of the Cretaceous period between 86 and 84 million years ago. Part of the Unulahinae, subfamily of long-snouted Paravian theropods within the family Dromaeosauridae. So these guys are very closely related to birds. Probably pretty closely related to like Velociraptor and Deinonychus and Troodon too. Yeah. Unulahines are Gondwanan predatory dinosaurs that are nested within Paraves, the clade that includes birds and their closest non-theropod relatives, non-avian theropod relatives, says Dr. Juan Porfiri of the Universidad Nacional de Camagüey, Buenos Aires, and his colleagues. The Unulahin fossil record comes predominantly from Argentina, where the greatest number of specimens and the most complete skeletons have been found, although other materials have been tentatively assigned to Unulahinae have been recovered from Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Antarctica. I was talking about this with Matt, actually. If any of you saw Prehistoric Planet Season 2, there is a dinosaur in that. Prehistoric Planet. Oh boy.
A thermal camera revealed a huddle of glowing bodies.
Anyway, so this is supposed to be Imperabator. And it's here reconstructed as a dromaeosaur.
Every few days, if they can. Protected through
A little speedo, though. Small-bodied, early diverging ornithischian.
For whom winter is inevitably a very hard time.
Yeah.
The remarkable maneuver.
There we go. So here they're reconstructed as dromaeosaurs. Matt Lamana is like, I wish that the Prehistoric Planet people had consulted me because we're pretty sure this is wrong. They reconstructed it as the wrong kind of dinosaur.
Edge of the forest. An advantage. Probata.
So instead, these guys shouldn't be as robust. You know, they should be a lot more kind of gracile. And Koha578, thank you for the follow. Yeah, because this is probably an Unulahine. It should be one of these really slender guys. You know, like this. It shouldn't be all stocky like a dromaeosaur. But anyway, that was the reference here. Antarctica is a reference to these guys who are probably actually Unulahines. Anywho, yeah. But yeah. I imagine that the Hollywood types got it wrong. I mean, Zook, Prehistoric Planet is actually phenomenally well done in most ways. And if they would have wanted to incorporate that change. I think they just didn't know who to talk to. Because yeah, turning this into an Unulahine would not have been difficult. I think they just were not aware that that other researchers had come to a different conclusion. So if they had known, they would have changed it, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, anywho. Unulahines are most frequently interpreted as early diverging dromaeosaurs, although other authors have instead regarded these theropods as a distinct Paravian clade. I told you about that earlier. They might not be super closely related to dromaeosaurs. They're an important clade for understanding bird origins due to their close phylogenetic relationship with Avialae, so they're very closely related to birds. Unfortunately, however, most species are represented by only fragmentary fossils, including this new one. The specimen was collected from the isthmus between the southeast coast of Lago Borealis and on the northwest coast of Lago Marie Menuco in Niken province, paleontologists said. It's the first Unulahin dinosaur to be discovered from the Bajo de la Carpa Formation, which has yielded fossils that collectively represent a diverse and important paleobiota. From this same fauna, you've also got snakes, lizards, turtles, crocs, indeterminate pterosaurs, ornithopods, titanosaurs, non-avian theropods, and birds. But Diukin fills a temporary gap of at least 15 million years in the fossil record of Unulahins. So we've got fossils from them from about 90 million years ago and about 75 million years ago, but this guy plugs a gap there, which is really nice. Preserved elements of the critter show morphological differences from corresponding bones in other Unulahin species, such as the accessory lamina on the posterior most sacral vertebra neural arch, distinctive paired foramina on the posterior most sacral and anterior-caudal neural arches, and a humerus with a distally placed distolateral dental pectoral ridge, and several conditions which appear intermediate between the humeri of Unulahia and the exceptionally large-bodied Unulahin Ostroraptor. You just saw Ostroraptor run by right there. My little alert thing. So pretty cool. Furthermore, the humerus of this critter exhibits two conical tooth marks that indicate that the carcass was fed upon by another tetrapod, most likely a crocodiliform mammal or theropod. Perhaps the Megaraptorid, represented by a tooth found at the same site.
This is really not what paleontology is like.
A Blend Chroma, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. Or it could even be a member of the same species who was chewing on the carcass. But anyway, here is the paper right there. And it is indeed open access.
Access granted.
There we go. Beautiful. There we go. There is the link for you. You can follow along. We'll take a look at the actual paper here. Very nice. And Matt Lamana right there is final author on the paper. Yeah. Juan Porfiri is first author. And Mattia Baiano. I didn't know he was on this too. I worked with Mattia in the Hell Creek back in 2011. Good guy. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. And so you'll see this word Gondwana show up a lot in this paper, and let me explain to you what that means. So Gondwana is, yeah, let's go back, 150, that'll work. At the beginning of the Age of Dinosaurs, all the continents were smushed together into this giant supercontinent we call Pangaea. And then it starts to break apart, and the continents start to move in their different directions, kind of on track to where they are today. But one of the first major splits that happens is between the North and the South. So the northern continents, North America, Europe, and Asia, together they form a supercontinent called Laurasia. And as sea levels rise and fall, sometimes there are land connections between Europe and North America, and Asia and North America up here, and sometimes the sea levels are too high. But anyway, the important part is up north, Laurasia. The southern continents, South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, New Zealand, and Madagascar and India, they're all together down here, smushed together. They're called Gondwana. So Gondwana is the southern continents, smushed together. Laurasia is the northern continent smushed together. And then they kind of split in like the late Jurassic about 150 million years ago. And they kind of continue that trajectory. They continue to split apart further and further. But by about 105 million years ago, you could probably still, if you were careful about it, you could probably still walk from South America to Africa at certain places. But yeah. And frankly, Franklin says Scandinavia up there looking exactly the same. Yeah, not too different, I guess. Although it was islands back then. But yeah, anyway, Gondwana. There are way more dinosaurs that have been named from Laurasia than from Gondwana. And a big part of that is just sampling bias. you've got more paleontologists working up north than down south. And so one of the really cool things that that Matt LaManna has done is done a lot of work in Gondwana.
To get into paleontology.
It was, I will say, like, it was about probably 15 years ago or so when the first people came up to me and said, like,
Really?
hey, I saw that show, and it really kind of, got me more interested in Spinosaurus. Heard it spoken, so I could go to...
Here we go. He's talking about our new dinosaur here.
Argentina. We just, let's see, today's Friday, right?
I think it is, yeah.
So a week ago today... That's weird, but yeah, I think that's true. A week ago today, several of my Patagonian collaborators announced our discovery of an Unenlahin. They're a type of southern hemisphere raptor, and this animal is named in a Patagonian indigenous language. The word means bird of prey. It's something like, I can spell it, but I've never heard it spoken, so I can't tell you how to speak it. But I think it's something like Diuquin or Diuchin. It's Diuqin, and it means bird of prey in the Mapuzungun language of the indigenous people that lived in Patagonia, or that still live in Patagonia, that part of Patagonia.
Yeah, so let's find that right here. Diuquin. Let's look at the etymology here. Matt said that it means bird of prey, and let's trust but verify here. I love that there's an actual photo of the site right here. Lovely. So there are the bones right there that they're excavating in northern Patagonia. Nomenclature, phylogenetic analysis. Etymology, there we go. Genus name, Diuquin, from Mapuzungun, the language of the Mapuche people, indigenous to the region where the fossils were found, means bird of prey. Yeah. And species name, Lechigaune, after Lechiguana, the witch in the 1975 film Nazareno Cruz y el Lobo, directed by eminent Argentinian filmmaker Leonardo Fabio, who foresaw that the film's titular character would become a werewolf. Intended etymology, Lechiguana's bird of prey. So it's named after a character who is a witch in a film. That's pretty cool, actually. Oh, man. Pretty neat. I feel like maybe we need to look at the trailer for this real quick. $75. Trailer. Huh.
No vaya a ser que le...
Huh. Interesting. Where's the witch? ¿Dónde está la bruja? Ay, el lobo. Huh. Okay. Interesting. An interesting reference. Cool. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Patagonia. So that's a southern hemisphere raptor called an Unenlahin. So I would say I haven't, raptors are not the focus of my research, but I have worked on them and discovered them from time to time.
Nice. Is it well established that they are dromaeosaurs, or is that still controversial?
It's a really good question. So these animals, these southern hemisphere paravians, so bird-like predatory dinosaurs, that I would call Unenlahine dromaeosaurids.
There we go, these guys.
Many people agree that they are dromaeosaurids, so raptors, so to speak. But there's a small but very prominent and I would say influential community in South America that actually thinks there's some other kind of paravian theropod. So in other words, they're nobody doubts that they're closely related to birds. They absolutely are, without question. They're some of the most bird-like dinosaurs, bird-like non-avian dinosaurs that we know about. But opinions vary, basically, whether they're closely related to Velociraptor or not so closely related. And so many of us call them Unenlahine dromaeosaurids, but others would call them Unenlahids, so their own family of predatory dinosaurs. And the jury's still out as to what they are. Most of these animals, including our new one, are very, very poorly known. And so that's the fun part about working on Southern Hemisphere dinosaurs, which is the focus of my work, is that, we're constantly, even for the groups that we know are there, even for the species that we know existed, we often have very little fossil material to work with. And so, walking around every bend, kicking over any boulder, I mean, you can almost literally, kind of change the world in terms of our understanding of dinosaurs down there. Makes it so much fun to work there.
That's awesome, yeah. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty darn cool. Let's take a look at the rest of the paper. How much of the material do we have? How much is there? A fragmentary but associated postcranial skeleton. So they don't have a skull, unfortunately. Some sacral vertebrae in the back. So sacral vertebrae are the vertebrae within the hips. Anterior caudal vertebral neural arch. Complete left humerus. So upper arm bone there. And 4 unidentified fragments, at least 2 of which may be small pieces of vertebrae. So not very much. Let's see if anybody's done any reconstructions of this critter yet. Do you mean La Chiguana? Yeah, okay. We've got one at least. Nice. But this is new enough that, there's not a lot of reconstructions yet. Yeah. There's the Wikipedia page with 3D scans of very little material. It's like a total of 6 bones for this critter. But pretty cool. It does seem to fill a gap between Ostroraptor and Unenlahia. So you could consider it a missing link, although it's really easy to say that when you've got very, very few fossils, when it's a really understudied or underrepresented group. Anything that you find in between you can easily call a missing link, even if it's not actually what's going on necessarily, if it's not a direct lineage. Electric Mermaid? How are you doing?
Electric_mermaid and their 17 raiders are about to get flattened by dinosaur content.
Merms, welcome back to Paleontologizing. How are you? How are things? Hope you're doing well. It is great to have you here. We are looking at some brand new dinosaurs that were just described while I was out in the field. I hope you had a wonderful stream, Merms. It's good to see you again. How's everything been? Yeah. Very, very short gaming stream. Played Elder Scrolls Online. Got too distracted by firework noises outside. Well, I'm flattered that you brought your viewers here. Merms, thank you, thank you. For anybody who's here for the very first time, don't mind the alerts. Milkob, thank you for the follow. But my name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. And I'm streaming to you from my office here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I just got back from the field a couple days ago. And I was streaming from the field too. Here's a video that we were just looking at, one of the VODs from there. Matt LaManna here was on my crew. He's a dinosaur curator at Pittsburgh's Carnegie Museum. And he was just talking about the same dinosaur that we're discussing, newly published. AK Tracker, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah.
14, and that would have sort of raptor-like claws and be bird-like and feathered and things like that. But unfortunately,
it's a Maniraptor.
Yeah, exactly. And for better or worse, unfortunately, I didn't find that dinosaur myself, but I was the lucky guy that got to describe it. So, a plug for my colleagues in Argentina. We just let's
check
see,
back. Thanks for the follow.
Friday, right?
Appreciate that.
I think it is. Yeah.
So
there we go.
A week ago today. That's weird, but yeah, I think that's true. A week ago today, several of my Patagonian collaborators announced our discovery of an Unenlahin. They're a type of southern hemisphere raptor.
Yep.
And this animal is named in a Patagonian indigenous language. The word means bird of prey. It's something like, I can spell it, but I've never heard it spoken, so I can't tell you how to speak it, but I think it's something like Diukin or Diuchin.
Yep, and here is that publication right here that we're going over. So there were 4 new dinosaurs that were published while I was out in the field. And I didn't have regular internet access or anything out there. The only time I had internet access is when I was streaming during the day. Did a lot of streams too, which was awesome. But anyway, we're discussing that right now. One of Matt's brand new dinosaurs just published a few weeks ago while I was out in the field. So we're looking at that paper right now. Yeah. And CW Liriano, do I still teach? Only rarely. I don't have a full-time teaching job anymore. I switched to streaming full-time. It's been a dream come true. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. If I do teach, it's here on Twitch. So yeah. I'm glad you're here. By the way, I was so distracted getting excited about this dinosaur. Mermaid, I really hope you had a wonderful stream. And why don't we do some promo for you? You did Elder Scrolls? What other kinds of content do you do? Because people should absolutely follow you. You're super cool, but tell them what you do. And anybody who came into the raid, too. You know.
We didn't come here to fight with monsters. We came here to find fossils.
Celestial Twitching, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Every time I see that title, The Elder Scrolls Online, I just think of Facebook's current user base. oh, grandkids, you know? Yeah. AK Tracker says, do you prefer field work or the stuff that happens when not in the field? Oh, I like both, but I really enjoy field work a lot. That's kind of what I live for. So it's really nice to be able to make new discoveries, dig the things up out of the ground, hang out with my colleagues in the field, and stream it too. I've been very lucky to be able to do that. But yeah. Yeah. And I'm very excited to be out in the field again in just a few days. In fact, in just 12 days, I'll be out in Utah again. And probably on the 13th day, actually, I'll be streaming live from the field. Or maybe I could check in on the 12th day. We'll see. But I'm going to have, hopefully, at least 3 weeks out there in the field, and I'll be streaming almost every day to show you again what it's like to dig up dinosaurs live from the remote Utah desert. Yeah. And not bathe. I mean, I bathe with wet wipes and everything. That's how it goes. But yeah. Yeah, less than 2 weeks, Mermaid. Less than 2 weeks. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Anywho, let's get back to Matt's new dinosaur here.
It's something like, I can spell it, but I've never heard it spoken, so I can't tell you how to speak it, but I think it's something like Diukin or Diuchin. It's Diuqin, and it means bird of prey in the Mapuzungun language of the indigenous people that lived in Patagonia, or that still live in Patagonia, that part of Patagonia. So that's a southern hemisphere raptor called an Unanlahi. So I would say I haven't, raptors are not the focus of my research, but I have worked on them and discovered them from time to time.
Nice.
See, that's the critter that we're talking about here. Diuqin. That's just how I'm going to say it right now, because I also don't know how it's pronounced. And there's those tooth marks on the bone. Somebody was chomping this critter, either before or after it died. It's hard to say. Violent Forces says, what was it like during COVID? Were you still able to do work or forced to stay inside? That is the one summer that I didn't do field work since 2011. I've dug fossils in the field every single summer since 2011, except for 2020. Which was pretty disappointing. I didn't get to do that. But, you know, global pandemic. You gotta take these things seriously. Were you out in 2021? I was, Claire, yeah. Yeah, I did some brief field work in 2021. And Tina Davis, thank you for the follow.
Dinosaur.
Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah, shoot, what field work did I do in 2021? I think I may have been out with LJ for a little while. Digging up in Idaho? Is that right? I think so, yeah. Yeah. It must have really sucked missing this summer? Yeah. Yeah, it did. But, you know, that was also... It was honestly for the best, because that is when I first started streaming here on Twitch. That's when I kind of established myself. That's where I laid the groundwork for getting partner the next spring. It was during that summer. Summer of 2020 was when I started streaming. And so it was maybe a blessing in disguise. You know, I could really focus on doing this, and I've been able to build a career out of it. This is my full-time job now. This is how I make my living, is doing science outreach full-time here on Twitch. So it's been really good. It's been really good. Yeah. E-Mover says, next dig going to be the same location as last year? Yeah. Yeah, near Moab, Utah. Although this year we've got... Karen Poole, right here, who's an expert on iguanodontian dinosaurs. She was looking at the iguanodont that we've been working on, and she's like, yeah, that is for sure a new animal. So I was saying last year that our iguanodont that we were digging up is almost certainly a new critter. We have confirmation of that now, which is pretty exciting. Here, let me find one of those. There we go. So I'll be
acknowledge everybody who's made this possible through their financial support, through subscribing. Welcome to Paleontologizing, everybody.
I'll be out
It's
here.
great to have you here. Hopefully you can hear me
Again in just 2 weeks.
Can't. Yeah, excellent. Good, good, good. Yeah. Well, hello, everybody, and greetings from wild and beautiful eastern Utah.
We'll be back out there.
Here in the Cedar Mountain Formation, the very, very beginning of the Cretaceous period. And we just got here last night, started to set up camp. We finished setting up camp this morning, or mostly finished anyway.
The Mulberry, a very cool AK tracker. It's a lot more crowded now. Oh boy.
So, welcome everybody. You are in for such a treat. Yeah. Anyway, let
me interrupt myself right here. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. So Karen is actually gonna be joining us apparently, and I'm excited to meet her and talk iguanodontians. Do I follow her on Twitter yet? If I don't, I gotta change that right now. I do follow her. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's nice. In field paleontology, we don't say, I love you. We say, you'll find some bones tomorrow. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful, too. Anyway. Good stuff. And it's so sunny, I hope you wear sunscreen as well. Oh yeah, of course I sunder. And we've got shade tarps when we're out there in the field. You can see some of those being set up in the background. Here we go. Shade tarps.
It's not the easiest site to work, so yeah. But we do have pillows here.
That's what we use to keep the scorpions, out of
Comfortable?
sight. Yeah, keep them ready, keep them sleepy, keep them ready for the morning, ready for work.
Now, when you're lying down on this rock all day, it can get a little uncomfortable. So we got these old pillows that we lie on. And, yeah, you'll see that later on in the summer.
But it gets hot there. Holy cow. It's going to be probably well over 100 degrees almost every day. 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Not Celsius, thank goodness. Fahrenheit. It's still pretty hot. Pretty hot. I think our record last year was like 117. So that's going to be fun. And you get an official document when one of your finds is recognized, something you can frame. You could always frame the publication, the paper. But one of the cool things about doing dinosaur paleontology is just about any time that somebody finds a new dinosaur. Let me think of a new guy. Oh. Jacques is relatively recent, I guess. Lots and lots of different people will do illustrations of it. Because people just get really excited about dinosaurs. And so you'll have a lot of different artists who will decide to do their own artistic rendition of this animal. And so one of the dinosaurs that I was an author on, Triceratops. Here, let me find the species new to science. There we go. Fowler, Wilson, Friedman, Fowler, Noto, Anduza, and Horner, 2020. One of the authors on this critter. And lots of different people have done different illustrations of it. And so that's kind of a badge of honor, that people are interested enough in your dinosaur to illustrate it. Come up with all kinds of fanciful reconstructions. Fanciful and, more staid and stolid reconstructions too. Yeah, it's pretty neat to know that people are that excited about it. And some of them are rather fanciful. The name Triceratops means Captain Hook. Somebody took that idea and ran with it there. Decided to give it a peg leg too. And Nerissa Chiara Natoli, thank you for the follow and welcome to Paleontologizing. But yeah. Good stuff. And Helvetica scenario? Oh yeah, this is, here, I can just show you real briefly. But this is an old fossil watch that my grandpa got me when I turned 18. My 18th birthday. You can tell it's old because the O in fossil actually fell off. But yeah. This was my field watch for a long time, and then I decided I liked it so much I'm just going to wear it every day. And so I do. Yeah. Anyway. And even your watch is a fossil, such a paleontologist says Rhacodactylus. Just worked out that way, I used to tell people it was a Timex, and then I looked at it once, and I'm like, wait, no, it says fossil on it for mine. Yeah. But they do make good watches, it's true. I've had this one since I was 18, which is... Oh, never mind. I forgot, I'm 21 and single, so that would be, that was 3 years ago. Yeah. It's probably a memory of your grandpa? Oh, he remembers it. My grandpa's very much still around. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And a Rolex. This is a million times better than a Rolex. Rolex, can't take a hammer blow direct to the face. You'd break it. This thing can and has multiple times. Yeah. Anywho. And what's that, Mini Pie? She says, why are you still streaming? Well, because there's still stuff to talk about, Mini Pie, but I guess I can wrap up soon. She's come to visit me again. Here she is. Oh, Mini Pie. Yeah, she's like, you're still at it? We're still talking about Dio Keaton here, Mini Pie. Matt LaManna's crew's new dinosaur. Yeah. Do you want to see it? Here. Oh, here's the paper. Here, check it out. Check it out, Mini Pie. Look. Oh, she's not super interested. She's like, put me on the cat cam. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I missed you too, Mini Pie. It's good to see you. You're gonna make me sneeze a whole bunch, aren't you? You're just gonna shed all over the place. Stick that hair everywhere. Just filling up the air with cat dander, huh? Huh? Is that what you're doing? Yeah. Anywho, Diochin, let's finish up this paper. Ooh, and there's a Megaraptoran dinosaur tooth from the same site and some bite marks. Maybe this critter got chomped by a Megaraptoran prior to or subsequent to death. It's possible. What do you think, Minnie? Hit me in the face with your tail. I don't really appreciate that. Yeah, what's up with that? What are you doing here? What are you doing? Oh, it's good to have you here, Mini Pie. It's good to be home with you. Yeah. And Zook says, I had a classmate in elementary school that would draw dinosaurs and dinosaur skeletons. You would think they were going to jump off the page and run around on the table. Cool. It's neat that, like, a lot of younger people get into art because of dinosaurs. It's a remarkable feeling to be able to, as a kid, to be able to draw a dinosaur and be like, yeah, I've never seen this animal. Nobody's ever seen this animal in the flesh. But I can make it come to life on the page. You know, you can see why so many people get into art through dinosaurs. It's pretty neat.
If you're feeling a bit cheated, try blaming the dinosaurs.
These are Minnie's bits, but maybe she'll share them with you.
Oh, I don't know about that. Minnie's like, no, I need all the bits for me. What are you going to buy with those, Minnie Pie? What are you going to buy? She's like, no, the bits are the point. The bits are the goal. She's like, I'm not going to buy anything with them. I just want to have them. Huh. Oh, Minnie Pie. Yeah. All right, don't get feisty here. Huh? Let's get back to our dinosaur.
He called it an iguanodon.
And Blue Danube, thank you for the follow. Like the waltz of the same name, right? I love it. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Thank you for following. What about those tooth marks? Humorous. Tooth marks. Two subconical depressions, herein interpreted as tooth marks, are clearly visible on the distal end of the lateral surface of the humerus. In each, the apex of the cone points toward the interior of the humerus. The marks are 1 and 2 millimeters deep and 5 and 4 millimeters in diameter, respectively, being separated from each other by 10 millimeters. There are no grooves, differing from the Butryraptor. Punctures might be from a crocodiliform or a mammal. Around the punctures of the Diakine humerus, there's no evidence of bone reaction or healing, such as the formation of new bone or lysis, such as osteophytes. Therefore, these marks must have been produced either post-mortem or very shortly before death.
This is really not what paleontology is like.
R.G. Walker, thank you for the follow, too. Welcome, welcome. This is oftentimes what paleontology is like, because sometimes you have very limited material. But still exciting stuff, that we've got a new Unenlahine from the Santonian stage of the Cretaceous. It fills in a big gap. So that's pretty neat. There's the humerus right there of our new guy, Diokine, compared to Butryraptor, Unenlahia, Austroraptor. So much more robust in Austroraptor. Pretty neat. Yeah. So yeah, cool stuff. Really neat that, there you go. There's our new critter filling in this gap there from the Bajo de la Carpa Formation. So there's like a 15 million year gap. This guy's right in the middle now. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. And look how slender they've portrayed it in this reconstruction. It would make sense based on the slenderness of the bones. But that's what we've got so far. This is still kind of a mysterious group. Butryraptor is really the best represented. We've got almost a complete skeleton for that critter. But the rest of these guys are... We've got big gaps there. We don't really... don't necessarily know what's going on with the rest of the skeleton. We know they're all related, so we know they should have the same kind of general body shape. But there's a lot left to learn. Yeah. And Mexican dinosaurs? No, from Argentina. K Crew. From Argentina. Pretty neat. Let's take a look at the conclusions. The first Unenlahian theropod discovered from the Upper Cretaceous. Santonian of Argentina. Let's see. These anatomical distinctions support the validity of the new taxon. I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah, it seems like it's definitely new, just because nobody lasts 15 million years as one species. Critters are always evolving or going extinct. Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah. Mini Pie, what are you doing? What are you doing? Argentina's got some very cool dinosaurs, DM Wing. Absolutely. One of the world capitals for dinosaur fossils. Patagonia, Argentina. Yeah. But cool stuff. Cool stuff. So I'll give you a link to the press article here. There you go. And yeah, so we managed to get halfway through our new dinosaurs from June on today's stream. I guess we'll have to do the other two tomorrow, which were Lokiceratops and Bainosaurus. We will cover those tomorrow. But right now, we're going to wrap up today's stream. And we're going to find somebody to raid into. Who else is live right now? Let's see here.
Science. What's science ever done for us? TV off.
CJ14, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Thanks for following right before we wrap this up. Let's go say hello to California Burbs, shall we? because the sun is not even set yet there. And there's a squirrel. Come on, where's the birds? Anyway. Let's begin our wrap-up procedure here. California Burbs. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for a fun stream today. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something. I hope you're inspired to learn more about the incredible planet that we live on and its long and storied history of life. We can learn about through the fossil record. And through the study of modern creatures, too. Modern creatures like these California Burbs we're going to see over at California Burbs. And let's see. No such thing as an entire fossil. Now, hang on a second. Hang on. Let's cancel that raid for a second, because we've got some really important questions here. From Heimdall. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Is it true that real fossils are kept in a deposit to which paleontologists do not have access? No, that's not true.
Myosaurs always ate the
Heimdall, thank you for the follow. It's good to have you here.
The moon does exist.
And it's Orla. Thank you for the follow, too. Welcome, welcome. No, so as a paleontologist, I visit a lot of museum collections, and yeah, that's why those collections exist, is so paleontologists can access them and study them. That's why I dig up fossils in the field, is so that, you know, we can have them in a safe place, like a repository, you know, like a museum collections. Is it true that there is no such thing as an entire fossil? No, that's totally false. There are literally millions, hundreds of millions of complete fossils. I've got one right here. Fossil fish Diplomystus. That is complete. We've got literally thousands of complete dinosaur fossils as well. It's just difficult to preserve a very, very large dinosaur in one piece, because think about the amount of sediment you need to cover that. But, yeah, I could show you tons of pictures of, some of them are so complete that they even have soft tissue. Sinosauropteryx is kind of famous for that. A lot of the other dinosaurs from Liaoning and China have preserved feathers, preserved skin, preserved gut contents, even preserved organs inside still, fossilized. Yeah, we've got literally thousands of complete dinosaur skeletons. It's rare to find a complete dinosaur skeleton, but the smaller the dinosaur, the easier it is to get it complete. Why do they use pieces from other dinosaurs to complete missing ones and in plaster? Well, because if you're going to put it on display, then, like, nobody's going to go to a museum to see a single dinosaur bone, you know? Sometimes you got to kind of fill in the gaps a little bit. But, like in our new paper right here... Where's that figure? There we go. We use skeletal reconstructions like this, skeletal diagrams, to show how much of the animal we actually have, and how much of it is still missing. But there have been a lot of cases where we only had a few bones originally, and then later on you find a lot more. Can a reconstruction of such fossils resemble reality? Yes, and we've had this tested many, many times. So basically, I don't know, like when Tyrannosaurus was first discovered, it was just a handful of bones. And then we went out and found more specimens of it and filled in the gaps. And those early reconstructions, based on just a few bones, they were incorrect in some ways, but they were on the right track, for sure. Yeah. Hot or cold blood? Most dinosaurs were warm-blooded, we think. We've got multiple lines of evidence to show that. If we never had a hippopotamus, could we, based on a found skull, reconstruct a similar... mammals are weird like that, but I'd say yeah. Yeah. Anyway. And greetings from the Canary Islands. Well, greetings from, the beautiful, sunny San Francisco Bay Area here. Hope you're doing well over there in the Canary Islands. Yeah. And it's Orla says, very cool. Glad I found this channel. My dream is to be a paleontologist. Well, you're in the right place. I'm wrapping up our stream right now. But come on back. Tomorrow, I'll be streaming again. We'll be going over at least 2 more dinosaurs that were described while I was out in the field. Because I was out digging in Wyoming for the past month.
Okay, on the shore of Lago Coleowapi, and that's
There
where
I am
the
right
first
there.
of our dinosaur localities.
Yeah. And I'll be back out in the field in just a few days. In 12 days, I'm going to be back out in the field live streaming. So you can see dinosaurs being dug live on stream. Oh, sorry, Mini Bro. Didn't mean to startle you. Anyway, and if you've got any advice that you're looking for, it's Orla for becoming a paleontologist. My best to help you out. But anyway, without further ado, let's wrap up our stream here. There we go. Yeah. And, oh, I spelled that wrong. Raid. There we are. Good stuff. Thank you to everybody who has asked wonderful questions today, who has followed, who has subscribed or cheered with bits or contributed financially in another way. Thank you for helping me do this full time. Thank you for your support of science outreach here on Twitch. Appreciate that more than you know. Again, I'll be streaming again tomorrow. And thank you, It's Orla, for the Prime sub. I really appreciate that. It's great to have you here. I hope to see you tomorrow.
Let's protect our fossils, because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
And let's go check out California Burbs, shall we? Thank you, everybody. I will see you there.